Chapter 21. Naruto sprang to his feet the moment he heard the gruff voice of Kisame, something he found hard to forget. He placed himself in between Tayuya and the two Akatsuki who stood upon the tree branches above them, looking down at them. Kisame was grinning ear to ear as he remembered. But the one that he was more afraid of stood off to the side, looking down at them with near emotionless eyes. Itachi Uchiha didn't even have his Sharingan activated, but the presence the traitorous Uchiha exuded was almost suffocating. So it would seem, Kisame-san, the girl, though, our little Naruto has very exotic tastes. Tayuya snarled at them, "Fuck you, Uchiha. You're worse than that little pussy we took from the leaf." Itachi narrowed his eyes, "So, Sasuke-kun has fallen to Orochimaru, I had hoped." Naruto glared at him. "Hoped for what?" Naruto growled, "You murdered your whole family. What were you expecting after putting him through that?" Itachi's Sharingan flared to life. "Do not speak of matters you don't understand, Jinchuriki," he said coldly. "Now, you will come with us quietly, or that girl will suffer." Tayuya reached for her kunai holster, but found it missing. "Damn, I fucking left it." She cursed herself. Naruto, however, still had his, and already had one at the ready. "You're not gonna touch her, team." His chakra flared all around his arms and legs as his Shikuten encased him. Itachi's eyes widened slightly. The bingo books were right, Kisame grinned, grasping the hilt of Samehada. Leader Sama was right to send us after him early. Itachi, on the other hand. "That's no Kekkei Genkai," the Uchiha said. "My Sharingan is actively trying to copy that jutsu, but there are no hand signs. He's actively combining his own wind and fire natures to create something new." "Impressive." "Naruto, be careful," Kyuubi cautioned. "I feel his eyes working their genjutsu. Don't dare look at him." "I know, I feel it, too." Naruto growled, "But he hasn't moved. He has the Manjikyu, he doesn't need to move." Tayuya watched as both Akatsuki flashed down to their level, her eyes on the blue-skinned Kirinin. She knew that Itachi would be the one to go for Naruto, but the sword-wielding Kisame would be a problem for her if he got too close. "You know you really shouldn't resist," Itachi said, speaking only to Naruto, his voice smooth and even. "It would do you no good whatsoever." Naruto glared at him. "There's no way I'm just gonna roll over for you. I don't know why you want the Jinchuriki, but you're not getting me." His flames blazed up and around him in a sort of armor, covering his entire body, save for his head. "Now bring it, or get lost." Itachi's eyes narrowed slightly, and the young man smirked. "Foolish boy," he said as the world around them started to fall away to darkness. "I've already captured you, you simply didn't notice." Tayuya was stunned when Naruto's flames began to die down, and his arms slackened to hang at his sides. "And Naruto?" Kisame chuckled. "Oopsie, looks like Itachi's got him already." The blue-skinned Nin smirked, drawing his blade, "Which means I get to play with you, little Oni." Equals inside Itachi's genjutsu equals. Naruto was suspended above a void of darkness that was Itachi's genjutsu, cursing himself for allowing him to cast it. But the Kyuubi's words had been true, the Uchiha didn't need to lift a finger to ensnare him. Suddenly, a mob of crows fluttered around him, converging into a black blob before Itachi himself took shape. "Now, we can talk." "Talk?" Naruto growled, "Why the hell would I talk to you?" Itachi narrowed his eyes, "Because even though the leaves may hide our village, Naruto-kun, underneath those same leaves hide a mass of withered leaves that have fallen from their branches. Now, tell me of how Sasuke-kun became Orochimaru's puppet." "Again, why should I tell you anything?" Naruto asked. "We're enemies." Itachi sighed, "Because, Naruto, I have little to no intention of actually letting the Akatsuki have their way with you, or any of the Bijuu if I can help it." Naruto looked confused. "What? Then why dash?" "Tell me of my brother first, then I shall explain," Itachi interrupted, "and leave nothing out. Time is constant here, so only a moment will pass in the real world while it would seem to take hours here." Naruto sighed, and, seeing no reason to keep quiet, started explaining how Sasuke had come under Orochimaru's control. From the fight in the Forest of Death, to the final moment of their clash at the Valley of the End. All the while, Itachi listened to him stoically. "I think I can undo the seal on him like I did for Tayuya-chan, but I'd have to keep him still for it to work," Naruto said, still wary of the Uchiha traitor. "So, what's all this sudden interest in your brother? I thought you didn't give a damn about him anymore." Itachi shook his head. "No, in fact I had hoped that my parting words would encourage him to protect the village, but it seems that he only saw it as a weakness. He seeks out power to destroy me, though I do not blame him, but it's led him to a darker path than even I would walk." Naruto crossed his arms. "So you do care?" He scoffed, "Got a funny way of showing it. If it hadn't been for the fox, that team would have killed me for sure. That is the only way to unlock the Manjikyu Sharingan." Itachi said, in doing so, you cut yourself off from all that you love in order to do the necessary deed to activate it. Killing the one that is closest to you, in Sasuke's case, that was you. His rival, his friend. Itachi looked at him and sighed, take heart in knowing that Sasuke-kun did indeed value your friendship, though why he left you alive I don't know. Kyuubi said that he was mumbling something about not being like you. Naruto said, I guess he wanted to find another way to unlock that power. I see, Itachi nodded, and smiled, you have told me what I needed to know. I will keep my word about letting you go, but it must appear as if you've driven us off. You are quite strong, but I don't think Kisame will fall for a mediocre trick. Naruto shrugged, just control me, and order me to use my strongest jutsu. I drove back the Raikage that way. Itachi thought about that for a moment, and nodded, it will do, as I can sense your comrades near. He said, I have one favor to ask, and if you do not wish, or are unable to do it, I will not hold it against you. What? Save my brother. Itachi said, before his Sharingan flared to life again, now, let us put on a show. == Naruto, wake up. Tayuya yelled at the blonde as Kisame laughed again, please. Don't do this. Kisame grinned as he stepped up to her, his sword raised, it's not gonna do you any good. Once Itachi-san gets someone with his eyes, there's no escape. He leveled his sword at her throat, now, I think you'd better start worrying about yourself. Suddenly, Itachi moved. I have a better plan. Kisame grinned at him, done with him already? Yes, Itachi smiled, something that did not bode well for anyone, Naruto-kun, go play with the little Oni. Itachi said, waving his hand at the girl. To Tayuya's horror, Naruto turned on her, his eyes dull and devoid of any emotion. And Naruto? Tayuya started backing away, this is a joke, right? Just another one of your pranks? Naruto's arms and legs flared with white flames. Shikuten, he raised his arms toward the girl, Bakuhatsu. The flames on Naruto's arms shot out toward her, giving the girl barely enough time to duck as they shot over her, causing a massive explosion behind them. Itachi was a little surprised by the power of the technique. My, what a nasty attack. Kisame cackled, no hand signs, so no copying, Itachi-san? Itachi gave him a slanted look, I'm not even trying to use my Sharingan to copy him. Besides, it's quite difficult to control him at the moment. Really? Kisame looked surprised by this, and frowned, and here I thought that an Uchiha was capable of controlling the Kyuubi with their eyes? Itachi wanted to roll his eyes at this, but at the moment, he couldn't take his eyes off the blonde shinobi, only Madara has ever been able to do that. Another explosion rocked the area as Naruto went on the attack reluctantly, and Itachi sighed, even now, he's resisting me out of concern for that girl. Kisame just smirked again, well, why don't you just take him and leave? I'll be more than happy to take care of her, and those fools I can sense coming. Itachi smiled, considering the request would indeed allow him to play off the fact that Naruto would escape, without Kisame's knowledge, yet there was a risk involved that he would kill the girl, or even be killed by the Sannin, Jiraiya. No, Itachi said, much to Kisame's consternation, but the man gave an absolutely evil smile, this is far more entertaining. The man said, and Kisame laughed. Kami, who knew you had a sadistic side to you, Itachi-san. Kisame roared as Naruto advanced on the girl. Meanwhile, as Naruto made a slow advance, Tayuya was weighing her options. While it was true that she could easily keep up with Naruto in a straight-up fight, if he was using his Shikuten abilities, while she had barely anything save for the Kitsune summoning contract and some fire styles, there was nothing in her arsenal that could match. Hang on, she thought as she ducked under a flaming kick, in this form, I've got almost as much chakra as the Ichibi, and my control's better than Naruto's even with the Oasuru no Fuin on us. Maybe I can, she ducked under another white-hot blast. Ah, fuck it. It's not like I have a lot of options. She clapped her hands together, Futten, Kairiki Muso. What? Itachi and Kisame questioned as a heat haze surrounded the transformed red head. Her brown skin sheened with sweat for a moment before clearing away, and nothing seemed to have changed. I suppose she's bluffing? Kisame asked. Itachi shrugged, having seen the jutsu with his eyes, and seen the increase in temperature of her chakra. It was a true jutsu, but... Tayuya grit her teeth, and cocked her fist back, I'm real fucking sorry about this, Koi, but there's no fucking way I'm lettin' those asshats have you. Tayuya snarled and hammered the blonde right in the face, sending him careening into the base of Kisame's tree, and knocking it over, forcing the Kirinin to flee. Damn. Kisame said, alighting next to his partner, that's some wicked strength. Tayuya's hands then came up in the horse sign, you'll love this. She snarled up at the pair, Futten, Komu no Jutsu. She took a deep breath and spat out a thick stream of mist toward the two men, Itachi's eyes widening and shoving his partner out of the way before the mist reached them. Kisame looked at him in slight anger as the man found another perch, only to find that their previous tree was melting at the touch of Tayuya's mist. Well, shit, she's the real deal, isn't she? Kisame asked, grinning down at the girl. Maybe we should just take the kid? You're not touching them, came a loud voice from above. Kisame only had a moment's warning before the red blur slammed into him with a hard left to his face, sending him spiraling to the ground. Itachi came to rest on the ground beside the recovering blonde. Rise, Naruto-kun, there's more work to be done, Itachi intoned, causing the blonde to rise to his feet. Jiraiya flashed to Tayuya's side just as Ranmaru and Sora entered the clearing. Release my student, Uchiha. Jiraiya growled, cracking his knuckles. Or what? Itachi asked, will you attack him to get to me? He stepped behind the blonde, still under his control. I think not. Naruto, he leaned down to the Chunin's ear, use your full skill. Naruto's hands twitched, summoning the twin lightning swords to his grasp, both sparking with electricity. Toton. Naruto whispered, and disappeared. Tayuya was on the move instantly, easily able to sense his movements in her current state, and slammed a steam-powered punch into the blonde's stomach. Naruto looked at her blindly, Raiga. His entire body erupted with lightning, shocking her mercilessly from the point of contact. Ranmaru shut off his chakra. Jiraiya yelled, making a beeline for Itachi, I'll keep him busy. I'll take Ugly. Sora yelled as he made a dash for Kisame, who was recovering from the blow given by Jiraiya. Don't try to match them in jutsu. Jiraiya warned, you'll dry yourself out before they do. Stick to taijutsu. Sora grinned, taking a flying leap into the air and spinning into a kick that bounced off of Kisame Samehada as the man grinned, a little late, aren't ya, Gaki? Not quite. Sora roared, spinning on his heel, and striking up with his right leg, hoping to loosen Kisame's grip on his sword. Meanwhile, as Ranmaru barreled into the fight against the blonde, Tayuya groaned and shook herself from the shock of the blast, then growled. I told you, she brought her hands up, I won't let you take him from me. She flashed through her seals faster than Ranmaru could see, only the rage in her golden eyes. Joton, Joukao no Yatsu. Jiraiya looked back in horror, get off the ground. He sprang into the trees, with Ranmaru and Sora right behind him just as Tayuya breathed out a thick stream of liquid that shot right over Naruto's shoulder and splattered against the tree behind Itachi. The bark and inner rings of the tree melted away like nothing and the tree fell, leveling a noxious cloud of acid in its wake. Itachi held his sleeve over his face and backed away from the acid cloud. Perhaps we underestimated them. But then he realized that he'd made a big mistake. He'd taken his eyes off Naruto just long enough. Tayuya was already there. Her hands placed against Naruto's chest, and channeling all the chakra she could to disrupt the genjutsu. Naruto's eyes began to clear, bringing back the light she knew and loved to them. He blinked once, twice, 3 times before his eyes widened at the sight of Tayuya's smile. Then his eyes hardened as he growled. He closed those eyes, and turned back to Itachi, how dare you, how dare you. His body erupted into flames as he stepped toward the man, I won't let you use me like that ever again. He shot forward, his arm cocked back, and slammed into the Uchiha full force, his white flames engulfing him before he dissolved into a mob of crows. Itachi reappeared beside Kisame. We're leaving. Itachi said, evenly, Leader Sama needs to know about this. Too bad, Kisame smiled as the blonde turned on them, I was just starting to enjoy the show. Soryoha. Naruto's lightning jutsu sprang from his blades in the form of a cage of lightning bolts that tore through the earth in its attempt to get to the 2 Akatsuki members. But they were already gone. Naruto sank to the ground, and slammed his fists down, damn it, damn it. X equals. Itachi opened his eyes alongside Kisame, and smirked, that was quite something, wasn't it? Yeah, Kisame sighed, too bad we couldn't keep up the jutsu for longer. I would have liked to see if they could have defeated us using those puppets Sasori gave to us. Meg, I supposed we should let Leader Sama know about this, yeah? Yes, Itachi nodded as he stood, I believe that would be best, and we should tell Kakuzu and Haiden to get the bingo books updated again. Kisame noticed something about the Uchiha, he seemed in a good mood, despite their failure. X equals. Tayuya looked at herself in the mirror, taking in her appearance. Gone were the dark skin and the horns, and back was her normal, rosy skin. It was over. Finally. She was completely free of the Hibi-Sannin's curse. Behind her sat the blonde responsible for the act. Naruto was not happy with how things had played out though. After the battle was over, Naruto had apologized on his hands and knees for his part in the fight. Jiraiya had just told him to shut up and get over it. Tayuya was of the same mind. And Uchiha's eyes were not easy to resist. Wisely, though, Jiraiya, Ranmaru, Niji and Sora had left him alone to finish his work on Tayuya's curse mark. As Tayuya now took in the blonde shinobi, she took a few steps toward him until she was by his side, and sat down with him. "You know I don't blame you, right?" she asked. "It wasn't your fault." Naruto shook his head. "No. I could see everything that was happening, Tayuya-chan. The moment I attacked you, Kami, I wanted to rip him to pieces for that," he growled, slamming a fist into the floor. "Making me attack the girl I like, it's too cruel." Naruto grit his teeth. Tayuya blushed at his admission, but leaned against his shoulder. "Doesn't matter, I'm here, you're here, and everyone's safe. And if you didn't notice, I used some powerful attacks against you, didn't I?" "You were aiming at Itachi," Naruto pointed out. "Still could have hit you," she smiled, "and I did, sorry about that." She reached up and touched his face, making him blush as her hand slid across his cheek. "I bet that really hurt." Naruto smirked. "It was healed in a few seconds. You should have heard the fox yammering at me. He was so pissed that I was under Itachi's genjutsu he nearly forced himself through the seal to disrupt it. I'm glad I was able to calm him down, though." Tayuya nodded, opting to just enjoy the warmth radiating from the blonde. "Mine." The thought caught the girl off guard, but made her smile in the end. "He's mine." Naruto felt her arm snaking its way around his waist as she worked her way under his arm. "Naruto?" "Yeah?" He looked down at her. "You really think I'm pretty?" Naruto smirked at her. "You're way more than pretty," he said, his cheeks tinted with pink. "You're the most beautiful girl I know." "Good answer." Tayuya stretched up and pressed her lips against his. Chapter 22. A week had passed since the attempt by the Akatsuki, and still, Naruto was frustrated with his progress. Tayuya had managed to pull off using both Futon and Yoton, though she admitted that using the lava-styled ninjutsu at the end of the fight was more of a fluke than anything else, but still, Naruto was frustrated. His Hayaton was taking longer to form than it was for his Shikuten. Kyuubi had explained that since he had a natural dual affinity for fire and wind, even though all of his chakra natures were awakened, it would take longer for him to combine his wind affinity with a recently attained water nature to form the ice style he had once seen on the mountains of Yuki no Kuni at Haku's level. Kyuubi also commented that it would make it easier if he had some already existing snow to work with so he could get a feel for the element first, rather than trying to create it right off the bat, which was the only option at the moment. Meanwhile, Sora was training under Naruto in his own Shikuten abilities, which were not going as easily for him as they were for Naruto. He was still working on keeping the flames in his palms stoked with his wind chakra. Naruto himself was coming along better than expected. He was starting to use less and less of the Kyuubi's chakra whenever he used the Shikuten skills he'd been taught, which, in turn, helped him in his control. Currently, he was out in the back courtyard, where he usually trained, working on his taijutsu stances in rapid succession with one of his clones, while the rest, some 100 clones, were working on forming ice crystals between their hands. At the moment, he was doing better than he had been. Gone was the senseless brawler he had been, only throwing punches aimlessly. Now stood a practicing martial artist. Tayuya was off to the side, watching him, her own training done for the time being. That was another thing that seemed to have taken a turn for the better. His and Tayuya's relationship. He'd never had a girlfriend before. Nor had she let on about having a boyfriend. Both of them were new to this whole thing that was love. Jiraiya was delighted while Niji simply sighed and said that it was about time. Ranmaru, being the youngster of the group, was as clueless as they came. Nothing had seemed to change about the new couple. Though Tayuya had stopped calling him shithead Kuin so often, she still used it in an affectionate way when she was trying to encourage him. Naruto treated her the same way, except he was more open about his affections. Ranmaru nearly gagged a few times when he'd caught them smooching when they thought no one was around. Your love life aside, Kyuubi commented, you shouldn't feel ashamed of your progress. Some of your clones had frost on their hands, and many of them were able to completely freeze their leaves. But you must not allow that Uchiha to take control of us again. I know, Naruto sighed as he stopped and began work on a new, highly dangerous seal. He said that he'd only make it look like I overpowered him, but he made me attack Tayuya-chan. How am I still not strong enough? I could help you with that, if you want. You? Help me? Don't sound so shocked, runt. I've had to help you in the past whether I liked it or not, so now, after all that, I'm offering to help you, just so we don't get caught by those repugnant eyes again. Naruto sighed and put down his brush, looking up at the tree he was sitting under. You really do hate the Uchiha, don't you, Furball? Naruto asked of the Bijou. If you don't mind me asking, what was it that Madara did besides controlling you that made you hate humanity so much? Naruto felt rather than heard the rumble of a deep-throated growl deep within the bowls of his mind as the fox gnashed his massive teeth. Naruto, the blonde perked up at the use of his name by the fox, you have no idea just how cruel humans can be, in particular, that man. I don't expect you to fully grasp my wrath for this man, or your race, but I will tell that he took something from me besides my freedom. Took something? Naruto asked, like something important? So important that I would give up all of my power to have it back, the fox said, and Naruto pictured the fox hanging his head, his ears drooping. There are things in this world that are so important that, even though they have no material value, can be worth the greatest fortune. Take that vixen of yours. What about Tayuya-chan? Naruto asked with a slight blush. What would you do if, and this is quite possible, you met up with that Uchiha brat, and he injured her, perhaps killed her? What would you do? Would you still want to try to save him? Naruto thought about that a moment. Though he did want to bring his friend back to the village, and keep his promise to Sakura, the very notion of Tayuya being harmed by the Uchiha heir set his heart hammering. If it came down to it, he valued Tayuya far more than Sasuke's if he tried to hurt her. I see that you understand what I'm getting at. The Kyuubi said, sighing, come into the seal with me. You and I will try to fix up your power levels. How are you going to do that? Oh, I have my ways. Naruto shivered at the fox's smirking tone, now get in here. X equals. Chiriku sighed in contentment as he watched the monks training. What a pleasant day. He commented to Jiraiya, who sat beside him, I think things are starting to cool down from all the fuss Kumo put up. What do you think? Jiraiya shrugged, not sure. My spies tell me that there are still bounty hunters out there looking for an easy mark. He said, taking out the latest edition of the bingo book, and it looks like the reward for those three has increased quite a bit. Naruto's been bumped up a few ranks. Chiriku sighed once more, I would imagine so. He said sadly, I'm afraid that might be because of those two characters you chased off a few days ago. More than that, Jiraiya said, one of the Akatsuki pairs is a bounty hunting team, and I don't like the sound of them either. Chiriku nodded, having heard of the pair, but before he could say anything, a person popped up at the top of the steps. She was a young thing, thin, and frail-looking, yet she was well-muscled, and had the build of a kunoichi. There was also the striking orange hair the girl had as she caught her breath. Oh, my, another visitor? Jiraiya chuckled, I think I know this one, he said, smiling, Oi, Sasami-chan. The Orangette looked up in surprise when someone shouted her name, and her eyes immediately fell on the old sage. Jiraiya-sama. Long time, no see, huh? Jiraiya smiled at her as she made her way over to him, what brings you, Gah? Sasami came flying at him, and planted a flying kick right to his face, sending the man sprawling several feet away. What was that for? Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused me? Sasami roared, attracting the attention of the monks, and making Chiriku smirk, all because of that fracas you caused in Kumo. There's been talk about this team Uzumaki led by you, of all people, and Naruto. And that was reason to hit me? Jiraiya snapped. No, but the fact that red hair color is rare is, she tugged at her long hair, I've been getting mistaken for that girl mentioned in the damned bingo books. She glowered at him with her hands on her hips, do I look like I have red hair? No. How hard is that to see? What's all the commotion about? Niji asked as he and Ranmaru round the hall, who's this? Jiraiya stood up, rubbing his sore jaw, this is Fuma Sasami, he said by way of introduction, she's someone we met while Naruto and Sakura joined me in searching for one of Orochimaru's hideouts. Niji nodded and bowed a greeting to her, a pleasure, Fuma-san. He said, imitated by Ranmaru. Sasami was a little taken aback by the show, but bowed right back to the pair. Nice to meet you as well, Hyuga-san. Then she shook herself, wait a minute, I'm still mad at you, Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya sighed, and rolled his eyes, oh dear, a woman upset with me, that's so not surprising. Jiraiya grouched, still nursing his sore jaw, and the only reason that the Raikage put that bounty out is because Ice Ego took the biggest blow since the war. Niji nodded, Naruto's jutsu was quite impressive. I could see it even as we ran from it. Sasami blinked, wait, you're saying that Naruto-kun drove off the Raikage? She asked incredulously, you mean that blonde boy that helped us against my brother and Dash? The same, Jiraiya smirked, he was injured not long after that, but those wounds have long healed from his battle with Sasuke, and he's been getting stronger. His display against the Raikage was insanely downplayed. It's the only reason he's not ranked higher than B rank, Ice Ego, that is. Where is he? Sasami looked around for said blonde, but saw him nowhere in sight. Ranmaru pointed to the back of the temple, Aniki's out with Ain-chan. He was working on his taijutsu when we passed him earlier, and the clones were doing that frosty thing with their chakra. Hayatan, Ranmarukuin, Niji corrected the youngster, remember? Naruto's training himself to use sub-elements. Right. Ranmaru rubbed the back of his head bashfully, so, when can I start that? Niji chuckled good-naturedly and patted his head, not until I know you've got a better handle on your chakra and your jujitsu. We all know how dangerous it is for you to use if you don't have the control. While the student and teacher chatted, Sasami was lost. Naruto learning how to use sub-elements? Was that even doable? Chiriku, finally stepping into the conversation, placed a hand on her shoulder. Come, I will show you to them. == Naruto, his clones having long dispersed, sat under a tree, his face laced with pain as Tayuya watched him in wonder. Sweat was beading his brow as well as the rest of him, even though it was a relatively cool day, which made her wonder just what was going on, and if the Kyuubi had anything to do with it. == Tayuya was right indeed, as the Kyuubi was the reason for Naruto's stress. Inside the seal, Naruto was faced up against said fox, out of his normal cage, and standing triumphant on the snowy plains that Naruto had envisioned for him. Naruto himself was covered in snow, blood, and dust from the thrashing he'd taken from the fox. Is this why you brought me in here? Naruto gasped raggedly, just to toss me around like a toy. Don't get the wrong idea, Runt, the fox growled, I told you already that you need to be stronger. What you've just experienced is your own weakness. Yeah, I know you're strong, Naruto growled, I know that I'm weak, even after all the training I've done, I can't even fully resist Itachi's Sharingan. What's your point? The fox slammed his gargantuan paw down in front of the blonde. My point is this. You will never ever be able to be strong as you are. Admittedly, you have grown in strength, but it will not be enough. Uchiha have the power to control Bijuu, because, and it galls me to say this, they are direct descendants of the Rikudo Sennin, as are the Senju, what's left of them. If you are going to beat one of them, then you must be prepared to do what you must to win. Even if that means utterly destroying them. I fight hard. Not hard enough. To prove his point, the Kyuubi flicked one of his tails out and slammed the blonde into the side of the mountain. I know you still think of that Uchiha as a comrade at least, but should he not see things your way, then you must do what needs to be done. Naruto picked himself up out of the crater his body had made, staggering to his feet even as the fox lumbered over to him. I won't kill him, I'll make him see. Did I say that you should kill him? The fox growled in distaste, even though I would relish bathing in that brat's blood, there are other ways to defeat him, but you're far too soft on him. Naruto growled as he looked up at the Bijuu in defiance. To hell with you. I fought with all my might when I went after him. And he put 2 holes in your chest with you not even getting off a shot with your Rasengan. The Kyuubi roared, and swiped at him, but the blonde Chunin leapt out of the way just in time to land on the fox's back. You once threatened to break every bone in his body, but there was nothing of that resolve in you until after my chakra took hold of you. Face it, Runt, the only time you've actually gone in for a kill shot was when you were up against a wall, and used your Rasengan to hammer your enemies. The former wielder of the Kiba was the only time that you actually saw the blood on your hands. The Kyuubi made no move to dislodge the boy, and Naruto sighed, sinking low to his knees atop the great beast. I know, I just don't like killing. Kyuubi sighed, Naruto, you are shinobi, in many languages, that word itself means death will come. A pure heart is not a bad thing, but it is not necessarily a good thing either. Killing is what shinobi do, no matter how long they serve their Kage. Doesn't mean I've gotta like it. Naruto sighed. No, that would make you no better than Madara, who enjoyed killing, Kyuubi said. I will ask this of you, though, do not hold back against that Uchiha Runt. Itachi asked you to save him, but sometimes the only salvation is death. Should he move to kill you, I will not hesitate to fight back. Nor should you if either he or Orochimaru try to harm your vixen. Again, Naruto sighed. Alright, I'll try, but what did you mean you could help me? The Kyuubi's tail wrapped around him and placed him on the ground. Over my many years, I have come up against many ninjen you could call powerful, even more powerful than your Shodai, though not as controlled. I have committed them to my memory, and I will use those memories to push you beyond your limits. Mentally, you will be prepared for the worst, and you already have the physical strength to do what must be done. Here you will simply be a shadow clone form of yourself, all the information gathering into your physical mind, so that you might apply it to your true self, and become stronger. His tail flipped over his shoulder and dipped into the snow. Now, you will meet your first opponent. He was a man of physical strength, and little on tactics. His tail raised up, drawing the snow with it, forming into a massive figure. He was a member of one of the first shinobi clans, the Kuga. When I fought him, he was ruthless, and unafraid of death. This you will learn from him. The figure took the shape of a black-haired man, dressed in black and blue robes, a katana at his hip, and his golden eyes glaring. Naruto immediately was afraid of this person, even though he was long gone. The piercing gaze of those eyes was enough to freeze him in his spot. Meanwhile. Very nice, hissed the pale Sannin as the boy in front of him moved through the motions of taking down his unwanted experiments. The ground was littered with corpses as Sasuke sweated and pulled his arm from his latest victim. You've progressed very nicely these past 6 months, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke paid no mind to the compliment, knowing it to be as hollow as the man's voice. What's the next step? Orochimaru purred as electricity sparked from the boy's shoulders. Well, I would say it is time to mold Chidori into something more than your arm. Perhaps you could channel it through a weapon, or make into something new, a projectile perhaps. That will do, Sasuke said, moving past the corpse-laden ground and toward the barracks where he slept. Kabuto merely snickered. You know you should really be thanking Orochimaru-sama for taking you in, Sasuke-kun. The silver-haired teen said, pushing his glasses up. Have you seen the latest bingo book? He held up a small copy of the Black Tomb. I kept the last on from you because I thought it would distract you, but in recent events, I think it might give you something to look forward to. Orochimaru raised a brow at the boy before taking the book himself while Sasuke peeked over his shoulder at the page. Sasuke felt his seal flare to life as he saw the picture of a familiar blonde. Him? Bingo book reports. Naruto Uzumaki, aka Konoha's Orange Spark, A+ rank. Village affiliation, Kanagakure no Sato. Gender, male. Age, 14. Rank, Mid-Chunin. Kekkai Genkai, Shikuten. Information, Uzumaki Naruto is known for his use of the Kagebushin no Jutsu, Kinjutsu of Konohagakure no Sato, and has shown proficient use of Kiri's Kiba blades obtained from Raiga Kurasuke after his death. He uses the Uzumaki Taijutsu style, making use of his blades during battle, and is also been shown to use the rare Shikuten Kekkai Genkai. He is also known, according to anonymous sources, to be the Kyubi no Jinchuriki, and has displayed slight to mid-level control of the Biju's chakra. Bounty offered by Kumo, 80 million. Bounty offered by AIM, 200 million. Tayuya, A+ rank. Village affiliation, Konohagakure no Sato. Gender, female. Age, 14 to 15. Rank, High Genin. Kekkai Genkai, Futon, Boil Release, /Yoton, Lava Release. Information, Tayuya has been known to be found in the company of Uzumaki Naruto, and has been displayed to be a powerful and deadly kunoichi. Her family affiliation is unknown, yet she displays 2 different Kekkai Genkai, both sharing the Katon element. It is unknown whether or not she has any other abilities at this time. Bounty offered by Kumo, 60 million. Bounty offered by AIM, 50 million. Ranmaru Kuratsuki, C. rank. Village affiliation, Konohagakure no Sato, supposedly. Gender, male. Age, 9 to 10. Rank, Genin. Kekkai Genkai, Byakugan/Tenseigan. Information, Ranmaru Kuratsuki has shown abilities in the Juken of the Hyuga clan, though it is still unknown if he has any relation to the clan itself. He has been known to travel with Uzumaki Naruto. Bounty offered by Kumo, 200 million. Chapter 23. Jiraiya watched as his growing number of students sparred against each other. Naruto and Neji was going at it with Neji having to keep up his defense because of the blonde's progress with his family's taijutsu. Off to the side, a safe distance away, were Sora and Ranmaru, Sora using the taijutsu style of the temple, while Ranmaru fought with him using the Juken, his Byakugan activated. Besides Naruto, Ranmaru had come the furthest when it came to hand-to-hand combat. Sora was no slouch, and had been training most of his life since coming to the temple, and Ranmaru was barely struggling against him. Next was the newest addition to the team. Sasami Fuma, after she had ranted and raved at him some more, had agreed to travel with them. Living life as a wandering shinobi after leaving her village was not something she had found likable. As it stood, she and Tayuya were equally matched when it came to taijutsu, which had the added effect of bringing out the foul-mouthed kunoichi's competitive side. All in all, Jiraiya was proud of the 5 of them, plus Neji. All of them were either high chunin to low jonin level shinobi. He'd also seen a drastic change in Naruto. When he fought, it was like his resolve to win was made of steel. He never hesitated against him when they sparred, and gave it everything he had. Then there was the elemental training he was doing alongside the others. Shikuten was still the main focal point of his jutsu, adding fire and wind to his arsenal thanks to Sora's Futon Jutsu, and some of Jiraiya's own Katon, but now there was a new sub-element to worry about as Naruto had finally been able to form ice in his palm. After that had happened, Naruto had thrown himself into perfecting the jutsu. Like his Shikuten, the ice was easily usable in close-quarters combat. The first week after becoming able to use it, Naruto had used the Hayaton to form a pair of swords. They were brittle at first, but that soon ceased to be true, and now they were as hard as true steel swords. Poor Ranmaru had been so jealous over that, and begged Naruto to teach him how to do it, but Neji still told the boy that he needed to work on his chakra reserves. Sara made it worse by telling him to stop whining, and Ranmaru had retaliated by running to Tayuya, stating that the young monk was being mean to him. It had had the desired effect, and then some. Sasami had gotten in on the act. Sara still couldn't sit down without feeling a slight amount of pain. Jiraiya, smiling at the memory, felt that Ranmaru was ready to learn some elemental techniques, but felt that Neji was being overprotective of the boy, and for good reasons. Ranmaru's Tenseigan abilities were strong, and none of them wanted him to lose more years off of his life as he had the first time because he didn't have chakra or the control to perform the jutsu. Tayuya had been another little marvel. Her Futon and Yoton abilities had been varying ever since the encounter with the Akatsuki. To some extent, she could use her lava-based jutsu, but only going so far as to manipulate the ground into molten rock, and not yet being able to produce it herself. Her steam abilities had become far stronger though. The sheer heat of some of those techniques had been enough to drive even himself back. That was something about the pair of Naruto and Tayuya that the aging Sannin noted with a grand smile at times. They were, without a doubt, the strongest out of his little troop. They complemented each other when they fought together, watching each other's backs like a shadow of the yellow Flash and the hot-blooded Habanero. Except now, there was the Orange Spark and the Guardian of the North Gate. "They're ready," the man sighed, and bit down on his thumb. A moment later as he cast his jutsu, Gamakichi appeared before him. "Hello there, Kichi. You've certainly grown." The toad, now the size of a large dog, grinned at him. "Hiya, Gramps, what's shaken?" Jiraiya resisted the urge to roll his eyes. "Everything's fine, for now, but I'd like you to take a message to Tsunade and Kakashi for me." "Sure thing," Gamakichi smiled, "ain't seen them in a while." "What's the message?" "Tell her to have a team meet us here at the Fire Temple," Jiraiya said, turning back to his students. "We're moving on Orochimaru." "Wha?" Gamakichi blurted out, "Are you nuts? Look what happened last time." "Last time?" Jiraiya asked. "When he invaded the village," Gamakichi said, "after all that, you still want to go after that punk?" Jiraiya nodded. "I owe to Sarutobi-sensei. And there's the chance that Sasuke will be with him, and we both know that Naruto will want to go after him. Besides, there's no way we can allow Orochimaru to get his hands on the Sharingan. It may not be the most powerful of the Dojutsu, but it can be called the most troublesome." Gamakichi sighed. "I can't really say I like this idea, Pops, but if you ain't changing your mind, then I guess I'll be going, and wish you luck." "Tell them to get here as quick as they can manage," Jiraiya said. "We don't know how long my old teammate may stay in the area, or if he's still in the area." Konohagakure no Sato equals. It was a typical day in the village as the day started. As usual, Senju Tsunade's day with a mountain of paperwork, and, also as usual, her choice for Rokudaime was late, again. "I swear," she grumbled to Shizune, "he's gotten worse ever since Enko moved in." Shizune giggled almost girlishly as Sakura came in with a small armload of forms. "Oh, don't you remember that you gave him the day off? Enko-san was complaining about how you never let him have any free time. Does the Hokage ever get free time?" Sakura asked as she placed the small stack of paper on the desk. "I mean, I've never seen Shursho take a day off, unless she had to move down to the hospital to treat a patient." Tsunade growled. "That used to be the council's purpose, given that they were once shinobi of this village," she ground out, "but with Shimura the way he is, I wouldn't trust any of those three nowadays." Shizune nodded to the rosette. "She's right, you know. Shimura-san even went so far as to start up a merchants' council." "Merchants' council?" Sakura asked. "A meeting between the local merchants to discuss their businesses, and how much income the village is making outside the shinobi missions." Tsunade sighed. "Apparently, some of them aren't too comfortable living in a military-ruled village without a voice. Shimura, being a former shinobi, decided to be that voice, and Kami is it a headache. The only people he doesn't deal with, when he doesn't absolutely have to, is the Ichiraku family," Shizune sighed, "and that's most likely to do with their long-time involvement Naruto-kun." "That's horrible," Sakura gasped. "They're good people. How could he do that to them?" "Easily," Tsunade sighed, rubbing the bridge of her nose. "That man wants power more than anything else. With my appointing of Kakashi as Rokudaime, he'll do anything and everything to get the civilians on his side, and make himself out to be the perfect candidate for Kage, and make us look like utter fools so he could take our place without a fight. He'd march right up to the daimyo if given the chance." Before Sakura could comment further, the door opened to reveal a certain lazy Kage. "Good morning, Go Dame." Kakashi saluted happily. "I'm very sorry for my lateness, but..." A black cat crossed your path? Tsunade put in. Or was it the little old lady carrying groceries? Sakura sighed, knowing her former sensei's excuses by heart. Did your alarm suddenly stop working? Shizune asked, grinning at the man's pout, or what she could see of it. Kakashi smiled at them, and rubbed the back of his head. None of the above, actually. Anko-chan didn't want to let me go. Oh, yuck, Sakura groaned, placing her hands over her ears. I so did not need to hear that. Kakashi chuckled as Shizune blushed and Tsunade just placed her head in her arms. Oh, come on, Sakura-chan, we're all adults here. Of which 3 out of the 4 of us have lovers, Sakura pointed out. I'm still too young for that sort of thing, bar my rank as a shinobi, thank you very much. Prudish much? Tsunade asked, smirking at her, and what do you mean, 3 out of 4? Shizune snickered, well, I have Irika-kun, Kakashi has Anko-chan, and you have Jiraiya-sama. Why you? Poof, Tada. Gamakichi yelled as he appeared, the fun has, yikes. Yo, Tsunade, knock off the glare. I'm just the messenger. Yek. Sakura yelped when the little toad appeared, Kichi, don't do that. Sorry. What are you doing here? Tsunade asked, what message? Right, Gamakichi said, raising a webbed hand, Jiraiya says he wants a team at the fire temple as soon as possible. The old whack job's going after that Orochimaru guy. The sound of a pin dropping could be heard as quiet as it was in the room. Then Tsunade's hands crashed down on her desk, splintering the wood, and snapping it in half. What? Kakashi stepped forward, I request the permission to go, Tsunade-sama. Me, too, Sakura said, if Sasuke's there, Naruto's going to need a medic. Might I suggest sending another Jonin along? Quiet. Tsunade roared, then looked at Kakashi, permission granted, find another Jonin to take with you, one skilled in stealth, I don't care if you have to drag a clan head out of retirement, just do it. Sakura, get all you need for the trip, and round up. The door to the office opened once again, Team 10 reporting for due, Asuma Sarutobi began as both Kage turned to him and his team. Bad timing? No, Tsunade said, smiling at the man as his team entered, actually, you've got perfect timing. Shikamaru took one look at the blonde's face and sighed, troublesome. 2 days later equals. I don't think this is a good idea, Ino whined, I mean, this is the guy that killed the Sandame. Sakura huffed, and glared at the girl over her shoulder as they dashed along, listen, pig, this might be our only shot at getting Sasuke-kun back, and the last time Naruto went after him, he was nearly killed. I get that, Ino sighed, but really, us? Going after a Sannin? We'll be fighting with Jiraiya-sama, Choji put in, dropping back beside the pair, he's a Sannin, and we've got Kakashi-sensei, the Rokudame, and Asuma-sensei. That's gotta count for something, right? It's overkill, Shikamaru sighed from ahead of them, we've got a Kage, a Jonin, a Chunin, and a Sannin, plus you 3, and Naruto when we get there, and we all know he's powerful. Orochimaru alone won't stand a chance against all of us, unless he's got backup, which, I'm guessing, is the main reason we're even going in the first place. What about Sasuke-kun? Ino asked, what do we do about him? Leave him to Naruto, Shikamaru said, looking on ahead of them, after all, those two have a score to settle, right? What does that mean? Ino yelled, you don't think he'll kill him, do you? Sakura paled, but bit down on her lip, Ino, he tried to kill Naruto-kun, and it was my fault. She sighed in remorse, he only ever cared about me, and I go and beg him to bring Sasuke-kun back, only to have him come back nearly dead himself. Ino remained quiet as she looked at her friend. Step it up. Asuma called back to them, we're almost there. X equals. Tsuruya. Yelled an irate female voice across the temple grounds as Team 10 and Kakashi landed on the steps. There they found the monks all staring in amusement as a loud crash came from inside the temple, followed by a yell of pain. Kakashi noted Jiraiya sitting on the porch, scribbling away in his favorite notebook, while a certain blonde Chunin was snickering away. Shikamaru and the rest of his team blinked, is that, no way, that can't be Naruto. Where's the orange? Ino shrieked, and why is he dressed like that pervert? Oh, Kami, Naruto-kun's been corrupted. Guys, Choji said, sweat dropping, I don't think that's. I said I was sorry. Yelled a boy as he came bumbling around the corner, and was followed closely by. You fucking pervert. Yelled yet another girl, who came running around the same corner, clad in only a towel, waving Bakuto, wooden sword, menacingly. I'll teach you to peek on us. Get back here. Yelled another girl, also towel-clad, and sporting a very recently sharpened Fuma shuriken, I can't believe you. Naruto. Get your girlfriend off me. Sara, as the boy was named, yelled to the blonde. Girlfriend? Team 10, Asuma, Kakashi, and Sakura echoed in wonder as the redhead chased after the other boy. Naruto just laughed. Yeah right? I should be the one chasing you, dumbass. Naruto roared, I warned you not to peek. Just then, another familiar face came around as Neji and Ranmaru came from the back of the temple. What is the meaning of all this noise? Ranmaru-kun nearly had the Kaiten down. Saranizan, what did you do this time? Ranmaru yelled after the fleeing teen. Peeping Tom. Sasami yelled. Fucking pervert. Tayuya screeched. Naruto was wiping away a tear from his eye as he spotted the dumbfounded shinobi that had just arrived. Hey, guys. He gave them a wave, smiling brightly, "'Bout damn time you got here." Jiraiya, on the other hand. Ha ha ha. This is gold. I'm calling the next one teen scene scream. The perverted Sannin laughed as Sora doubled back, prompting Tayuya to turn around and chase after him, only to bound right into Sasami as she tried to stop, and drop both of their towels. Needless to say, seeing so much exposed female flesh had Naruto, Neji, Shikamaru, and Choji rocketing back with a massive nosebleed. Jiraiya was cackling and scribbling, and Ranmaru was just too young to know what to think. Asuma and Kakashi had bright blushes on their faces, and Ino and Sakura, well. Shanaru. Boom. Ino giggled as her sensei and Kakashi were plowed into the ground. Serves you perverted old men right. But we didn't do anything. Asuma groaned. Kakashi's only answer was a pained, perverted giggle. Chapter 24. Some time after things had calmed down from Sasami and Tayuya's unintentional show, Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Asuma, plus their teams, minus a pair of embarrassed girls, were seated around a low table as they went over the plans for the assault. According to Naruto's sensory skills, the Sannin said, gesturing to his apprentice, the base is inhabited by a fair few large chakra signatures. I'm willing to bet that these signatures are more of his experiments that received a curse mark from him. And? Asuma asked, raising a brow, how do we deal with these experiments? Jiraiya turned to Naruto, Gaki? Naruto just shrugged, from what I could feel, these guys are way too far gone to be called human. He said unhappily, I wouldn't be surprised if they attacked us with or without orders. Kakashi nodded, so take them out without question. It wasn't a question. As much as I hate to say it, you're right. The blonde said, but you gotta be careful with them. Neji and I've dealt with them, and each one's gonna have a different ability. Take Sasuke, when he changes, and I hope we can take him out before he changes, but he has a massive boost from his seal as far as chakra goes, and he has two hand-like wings on his back, allowing him to fly. Shikamaru sat back, taking in the horrified looks on Sakura and Ino's faces. Sasuke-san's always been fast. Given his training under Kakashi-sama for the Chidori's use, and now the flight, he's probably just as dangerous as Orochimaru. Don't forget his Sharingan, Neji pointed out, he can easily place a genjutsu on any one of us, and there's that nasty little trick of copying our techniques, and using them against us, no offense, Kakashi-sama. None taken, Kakashi said, eye-smiling, even I think another Sharingan could be troublesome, to quote Shikamaru-kun. So, Sakura hazarded, how do we stop him? Naruto smirked at her in a way that made her shiver, as that particular smirk usually meant he was planning something that did not bode well for his target. I've got a seal I can hit him with, he said, holding up his right arm which was, to their surprise, wrapped in bandages. As soon as I activate it, all I have to do is keep hold of him for 10 seconds. Therein lies the problem. Sasuke team's never been one to be held down, by anyone. Someone's gonna have to help me hold him down so I can keep the jutsu up, or else he's gonna throw me off. I'll take care of that, Sakura volunteered, cracking her knuckles. I can't let you take him on alone, not this time. Naruto gave her a worried look, you sure about that? He's not a pushover. Sakura gave him her own look that threatened violence, neither am I. You're forgetting that I've been training under Tsunade-sama for the past 6 months. Ino looked over at her friend, but isn't she just a medic? Saying this prompted everyone present to look at the blonde as if she'd grown a second head. What did I say? Sakura facepalmed, Ino Bunta, you seriously need to look her up. Tsunade's like the strongest kunoichi that ever lived besides the hot-blooded habanero. Naruto blushed at the mention of his mother, and grinned, was Mom really that awesome? He asked of Jiraiya. MOM? Sakura and Ino yelped. Jiraiya, ignoring the pair, just nodded, damned right she was. She was a terror, that girl. On and off that battlefield. Ask Kakashi-kun, he trained with her for a short time. Kakashi noted as well, shivered from a few of the memories he had while training with one of the last Uzumaki purebloods. She was the most feared kunoichi to ever grace the battlefield. No one ever wanted to cross her path. Asuma saw that the two girls had more questions they wanted to ask, and decided to get them back on track. So, if we're really going after them, what's the plan? Surely we can't go through the front door? Jiraiya shook his head. Naruto-kun's going to be the lead dog in this raid. His sensory abilities are on par Kushina-chan's. His sense of smell outclasses even yours, Kakashi. He'll be taking part of my team through the back, while I take the front. Sora-kun isn't quite as good as Naruto, but he's decent in tracking, and he's learned a few Shikuten abilities from Naruto. He'll be with me, along with Neji and Sasami. Ranmaru and Tayuya will be with Naruto. What about us? Shikamaru asked, what are we going to do? Shikamaru's shadow techniques could come in handy against Sasuke, Asuma put in, and Sakura has already volunteered to go with him. That gives him 5 bodies, Kakashi said. I'll go with Jiraiya-sama, and the rest of Team 10 to take care of Orochimaru. That should give us all the power we need. The sounds of bare feet hitting the floor came to their ears as Tayuya and Sasami came into the room, both damp from returning to their baths and still toweling their hair. You guys are forgetting one big detail. Tayuya said, growling as she plopped down next to Naruto. Kabuto. He's just as bad as Orochimaru. If not worse. She said, glaring across the table at the two Jonin. Unlike what you may think, Sasuke isn't his apprentice, but Kabuto is. He knows almost all of his techniques, including the snake summoning contract. Sasuke's just a spare body once he's been made strong enough. And he's strong, Sasami said, remembering the look-alike they'd fought against. Ino was about to say something, but noticed that Shikamaru was shaking. He was looking right at Tayuya, too. Shika? This caused Tayuya's head to snap up, and her eyes immediately honed in on the young Chunin. You! Shit! Shikamaru brought his hands up in the rat seal just as Tayuya rose, and caught her. Look, I don't know. Save that shit for someone who cares, you lazy ass. Tayuya shouted, struggling against the shadows, do you know how long I was stuck under those fucking trees? Asuma looked between the two, shooting a glance at Jiraiya. What's going on? She was part of the team that took Sasuke, Shikamaru ground out. This prompted Ino and Choji to rise and come to Shikamaru's aid, only to find their path blocked by Naruto, Neji, and Ranmaru. Even Sakura moved around to defend her. That's enough. Naruto growled, she's on our side. How do you know that? Ino screeched, she's the reason Sasuke left in the first place. Fuck you, you blonde skank. Tayuya snapped at the girl, you wanna blame anyone, then blame the fag that put that mark on his neck. Like we'll believe you. Ino snapped, drawing back to punch her, but a growl from Naruto stopped her. A sickening wave of chakra washed over the room that had Ino and her team staggering, causing Shikamaru to release his jutsu. Naruto was glaring at them angrily. I said that's enough. He growled, his eyes bordering on red, she's the reason we know where Sasuke is. She led us right to him. All she wants is to get back at Orochimaru for what he did to her. Tayuya wrapped her hand around his and the chakra retreated. Then she looked at the Ino Shikacho trio. I'd never do anything that'd hurt Naruto. She told them, and Gigi gave me a chance to get back at the bastard that ruined my life. I'm 10 times stronger than what I used to be because of them. Jiraiya took note of Asuma and Kakashi, and spoke, I've been training her myself. She's been affiliated with us in Kumo's bingo books, and has a price on her head just like Naruto and Ranmaru-kun. She's also the only known signer of the Kitsune summoning contract, so I'll vouch for her every step of the way. All eyes turned to the silver-haired Kage, who nodded, good enough. When do we move? Jiraiya rose, pack up. We leave in 5. As the team of shinobi bustled about, none of them took notice of the large amount of crows sitting in the trees surrounding the temple, each one of them glaring down at the scene. A loud caw echoed across the temple grounds as the birds took flight. Equals some miles away from the temple equals. Itachi opened his eyes as the memories from his crow clones came back to him. So it begins. Kisame looked over to his partner in question, what's wrong? You've been meditating all morning. Itachi sighed and rose to his feet, it seems that the Uzumaki boy is going after my foolish little brother. Itachi said, and began removing his Akatsuki robe, much to Kisame's surprise, and revealed his old Konoha vest. I'm afraid I have to take an extended leave of absence, Kisame-san. Would you mind telling Pain-sama? Kisame watched him as he removed his ring and placed it with the robes. Where are you going? Itachi gave him one of his cold shoulder looks. I am afraid that is my business, and mine alone. You understand, right? Sighing, the blue-skinned man rose as well and gathered up the robes. I can't say this is gonna go over well with the others. He said, Pain-sama alone will throw a fit, but Haiden's gonna miss you, and you know Kakuzu's gonna want to go after you. He can try, Itachi said. Humph, you know out of all those idiots, I only count you as my friend among them, right? Kisame said, looking somber. Itachi-san, you're not coming back this time, are you? Itachi gave his longtime partner a sad smile. I don't know, Kisame-san, I really don't, it all depends on Sasuke-kun. Jijijijijai. Kisame chuckled, and grasped the hilt of his sword. Samahata says good luck. And I guess that's what I should say, too? He extended his hand toward him. Good luck, Itachi. Itachi nodded, and accepted the hand with his own. Thank you, my friend. == Kabuto-kun, where is Sasuke-kun? Orochimaru asked as he came into the teen's work area, where he was working on a cadaver. Kabuto looked up from his work. The last I saw of him, he was looking around the archives. You know, where we keep our specimens? Orochimaru sighed. He hasn't been poking around the lower cells, has he? He asked. If he found out what we have down there, it could be problematic. Not that I'm aware of, Kabuto sighed himself. Still, it's troublesome. The lower cell blocks have produced a single workable specimen since we found them. I know for a fact that they have the capabilities to produce that particular Jujutsu, but I can't for the life of me figure out why we have seen any results. Orochimaru smirked. It makes no difference. Even if the Jujutsu doesn't surface, we can still use them. The remnants of that clan are quite powerful, and if any of them show promise, then I shall give them my mark. Kabuto leaned back from the operating table, and wiped his hands free of blood. What about Saiga-kun? Shouldn't we do something about him? Orochimaru sighed. What a disappointment that one turned out to be. He was supposed to be from the main branch of the family as well. Kabuto looked a little excited. Does that mean I can? No, Orochimaru stopped him. I have other plans for him. There's a chance that he could still develop the Sharingan, we just need to figure out how. Meanwhile, Sasuke was not where Kabuto said he was. Exploring the compound when Orochimaru wasn't training him had become a pastime of his, and this part of the base was not one he had visited before. The smell was atrocious, the odor of sweat, blood, and other bodily fluids filled the air, but he ignored it for his curiosity. As he walked, he noticed that the cells were full, and the people inside were peering out at him with dull, sunken eyes. Leave. Run. The raspy voices of the prisoners made his skin crawl. He came to one last cell, a wooden door, with bars over a window. Inside that cell, from what he could see, was a young person, thin as a skeleton, sitting on the floor. Sasuke arched his brow, and looked down at the door, and started. Uchiha Saiga. Age, 16. Main branch Uchiha. Parental lineage, second child of Fugaku and Mikoto Uchiha. Sasuke's frame shook. Second child? That's impossible. Sasuke thought, and grit his teeth. I don't have any other family aside from Itachi. The boy, Saiga looked up. What the hell do you want? Sasuke nearly hit his knees. How long have you been down here? Saiga narrowed his eyes. What do you care? Are you that bastard's new pet? I'm Sasuke Uchiha. Saiga scoffed. After all these years, he finally decided to drop me for another one. What did he promise? Money? Power? Sex? Revenge, Sasuke told him in a growl. I want to avenge my clan. Clan? Avenge them? Saiga perked up, rising from the floor. What do you mean? What's happened? My brother, Itachi, slaughtered all of them, Sasuke told him. I've been trying to kill him for a long time. Itachi, I know him. Orochimaru mentioned him several times while I was being trained, he said. Does that mean? Sasuke. Orochimaru's voice cut through the halls, and the boy whipped around to see his sensei with his hands brought up in the ram seal. Sleep, and forget all that you have seen or heard within this hall. For a brief moment, Sasuke's curse mark flared to life with a sharp stab of pain racing through him as his vision dimmed, and he fell unconscious. Saiga nearly laughed. That was pretty close there, you slimy mud skipper. If he had enough time, I might have gotten out of here. Orochimaru smirked and lifted the prone boy over his shoulder. Not quite, yet, Saiga-kun. I have so much more planned for you. Saiga pounded a fist against the door. When I get out of here, I'll kill you myself. Orochimaru smiled. You can try. He chuckled softly. Suddenly, the halls lit up with a ceiling array that cast an eerie glow over the cells, illuminating the prisoner's sunken features and dull red hair, as well as the snarling face of Saiga Uchiha. Well, it seems we have company. Team Orange here, in position, Naruto's voice crackled over the radio. This is Team Kage, we're ready when you are, Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi said over his radio. Alright, then, Naruto, you move in first and give us a look-see with your senses and Ranmaru's eyes, Jiraiya said. I'll do the same on my end with Neji. Kakashi, once we give the all-clear, you and Asuma's 2 genin move in as quietly as possible, and wait for my call. Once I've got Orochimaru's attention, move in. Naruto, if Sasuke's close by, separate him from Orochimaru as soon as you can. If Kabuto's around, leave him to Asuma. Kakashi and I will deal with the snake. Everybody clear? Roger. Alright, teams Orange and Toad, moving in. Naruto and his team moved in from a escape route found while Ranmaru had scouted the area a day earlier. Jiraiya was moving in from the front, while Kakashi and the rest were moving in from the back. The entrance to the route Naruto's team was to take was covered by a fake panel made to look like the grass-covered ground. Naruto gave it a good push, and the panel easily slid out of the way. Using his chakra as a radar, Naruto sent a pulse through the ground, mapping out the area in his mind as the pulse flowed through the ground almost like a third eye. A smirk formed as he found no one in his path, and gave the signal for them to move in. Ranmaru dropped in first, his Byakugan glowing in the dim light of the hall. All clear, Ranmaru hissed as Naruto, Tayuya, Shikamaru, and Sakura dropped down. You hear that, pervy sage? Naruto asked over the radio. Copy. Moving in. Be advised that we're probably about to trip some sort of alarm. A seal, probably. So be on the lookout for movement. Gotcha. Naruto nodded, and looked at the others. Let's go. Naruto's team darted down the halls, Naruto in front, and Shikamaru bringing up the rear. Soon, the walls and floor began to glow with seals, signaling that Jiraiya had been right. Naruto-kun, Sakura asked worriedly, what sort of seals are these? Naruto spared a glance at them for a moment. They look like sensory seals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had a secondary effect. He said, wishing he could stop and examine them for a moment. Better to keep moving, just in case. Kukukuku, better to have never come at all, Naruto-kun. Shit. Naruto cursed as the floor beneath his feet suddenly opened, sending him falling into a dark abyss. Sakura barreled in and dove after him, reaching behind her to grasp out a Tayuya, only for her hands to slip from the redhead's grip and be swallowed by the pit. Oni-san. Gamidamit. Tayuya roared and dove, only for the trapdoor to close off, cut her and Shikamaru off from their friends. Fucking bastard. Tayuya roared at the walls, knowing full well that she could be heard by the Hibi-san Nin. What did you do with them? There's no need to worry, Tayuya-chan, Orochimaru's disembodied voice said, making her shiver in her tracks. You'll see them again soon, I'm sure. After all, if they survive my pets, then they'll be right with the person I'm sure they've come to find. Shikamaru let out an uncharacteristic string of curses that surprised even Tayuya as the Chunin reached for his radio. Jiraiya. We just lost Naruto and Sakura. Orochimaru knew exactly where we were. Can you get to them? No, we're cut off, unless Tayuya-san knows a Doton. Tayuya. Go all out. Jiraiya's voice blared, and the young Chunin wished he'd kept his mouth shut, because the look of pure rage on the girl's face was that of a woman on a mission. Much like he'd seen on his mother when his father had failed to do something, or when he said something stupid. Tayuya growled and started flashing through hand signs, ending in the Saru. Yoton, Yu Tochi no Jutsu. She slammed both hands against the ground where the door had been, and the wooden frame surrounding it, along with the cobblestone floor, began to heat up to unbearable levels before the Nara air could blink. Sweat beaded his brow, and steam rose from Tayuya so thick that he could barely breathe. The trap door burst in the flames as the stones around it melted into lava. Holy, you can use Yoton? Shikamaru gasped. Tayuya nodded at him as the flames died and the door fell away. Naruto taught me how to do it. Taught you? But that's a Kekkei Genkai. Tayuya gave him a gentle smile. He's a guy that makes the impossible, possible. Let's go. Without further ado, she hopped into the chute, followed closely by the Nara and Ranmaru. == Jiraiya cursed as the radio went out, unknowingly because Tayuya and Shikamaru had gone out of range after Naruto, and tossed it to the ground. Damn it, he caught onto us way too quickly for this sort of retaliation. What do we do? Sasami asked as they plodded along. Should we try to find them? Niji? Jiraiya looked at the young Hyuga, who activated his Byakugan without question. As he scanned the area, he found 5 chakra signatures. Naruto and Sakura are moving toward the lower levels of the base quickly, while Tayuya, Ranmaru, and Shikamaru seem to be, no, they've just broke off in another direction. The trapdoor must have been designed to split teams up if they went after their comrades. Jiraiya spat, nothing we can do until we go deeper. Let's just hope they can handle themselves for now. He picked his radio back up. Kakashi, did you catch any of that? Unfortunately, I did, and you're right, we can't do anything for them right now. Keep moving forward then, Jiraiya sighed. If Orochimaru knows you're here as well, he'll be gunning for you. Copy that. Please make sure my students are safe, Jiraiya-sama. Will do. He looked back at his team. Come on. We need to get moving. Sara-kun, keep that nose of yours open. We don't know what's down here. Right. Sara nodded, taking point, Niji right beside him. X equals. Naruto groaned as he picked himself up off of the ground. Damn, what a ride. He heard a small groan from beside him, and saw Sakura picking herself up from the floor. Naruto-kun? Right here, he called out softly. Sakura nodded and took a look around. Where are we? She asked, taking note of the large area they'd landed in. It looks like an arena? Naruto looked around, using his chakra to feel for a presence. And he did not like what he found. I think that's exactly what it is. He looked along the walls. Those are cell doors. Cells? Sakura gulped as one of the door creaked open. Out stepped a grotesque creature that looked like an oni, followed closely by another door opening with a crab-like creature looking down at them. Oh? Yeah, oh? Naruto said, unsealing his kiba. Let's get this over with. Much as I dislike killing, I think these guys missed the 2 o'clock feeding. Naruto, Sakura began, but was cut off by a cold voice. Stand down, they belong to me. Sakura's head whipped up and around at the sound of the voice, as did Naruto's. Both of them found the person speaking looking down at them with a vacant stare. Sasuke-ku, Sakura would have rushed right to him, had Naruto not gripped her shoulder. What are you? Something's not right about this, Naruto said, looking at the Uchiha closer. He's not himself. You're right, Sasuke said, leaping down into the arena. I'm very different than what I used to be. Lightning began to spark from his left arm. I'm stronger than the weak Konoha shinobi you used to know. Naruto smirked. Oh, I can tell you're a lot stronger, team. Matter of fact, it's getting me excited. His smirk turned into a full grin. It's time to finish this, team. I've got a mountain load of payback to dish out for the holes you put in my chest. A sneering smirk appeared across the boy's face, and I have a score to settle with you, Dobe. It's time to decide which one of us is stronger. Lightning began flashing between the pair, Naruto's swords, and Sasuke's Chidori meeting even before the battle began. Naruto cast a glance back at his friend, Sakura. Watch out for an opening in this fight. As soon as you see one, let him have it. The soon we get him down, the fast we can get that seal off. Sakura looked between the pair, seeing the manic expression on Sasuke's face, and nodded. I won't let you down. X equals. Tayuya, Ranmaru and Shikamaru landed softly in one of the halls beneath the base. Ranmaru-kun, where's Naruto and Sakura? She asked of the youngest member. Ranmaru was quick to do a scan, and suddenly looked up. They're 3 floors above us. What? That chute must have opened up for us in a different way, Shikamaru growled. We were routed down here. And right where I want you, said a voice further down the hall as Kabuto stepped out of the shadows, smirking cruelly. Why, hello, Tayuya-chan, so nice to see you again. Tayuya ground her teeth together until she tasted blood. Kabuto. Chapter 25. Shikamaru was many things. Lazy, intelligent, a master at shogi, to name only a few things, but a coward was not among them. Yes, he'd been afraid multiple times in his life, such as the time his mother had nearly beamed him in the head with a frying pan when she was aiming for his father, and more serious times such as the invasion just under a year ago. But now, watching as steam rose from Tayuya's body as she glared at the former Konoha shinobi, the Nara heir wanted nothing more than to pick Ranmaru up, and hightail it out of there. The look on the girl's face was that of the purest rage, and none of it the feminine rage he feared, but the true, unbridled hatred of someone greatly wronged. It was a look he'd seen on one other person. Sasuke Uchiha. Kabuto took in the kunoichi with slight amusement. Well, Tayuya-chan, you seem to have grown in strength since we last met. He smirked, pushing his glasses up his nose. I have to say that even I'm surprised that you survived against both the Nara clan heir, and that Kazekage's daughter. No thanks to you, she spat, her fists clenched so hard her knuckles were white. You don't know how long I've wanted to get a shot at you without worrying about that snake you cling to all the time, you sick bastard. She stepped forward, the steam rising to a thick cloud. I want payback for all the things you did to me, for the things you made me do. Kabuto had the nerve to chuckle, his eyes wide with an excited glimmer in them that made Ranmaru and Shikamaru shiver. Ranmaru made to step between the two, but a silent hand on his shoulder from Shikamaru stopped him. The boy looked back at him in question, and the Nara shook his head. If we get in the middle of this right now, she won't be able to stop from getting us caught in the crossfire. Shikamaru explained. Ranmaru bit his lip, but Ain-san. If things get too bad, we'll step in, Shikamaru said grimly, but for now, just keep away from them, especially Kabuto. By now, Kabuto's chuckle had erupted into a full laugh as Tayuya's advance on him continued. The things I made you do? Try the things you love doing. He cackled. Don't stand there and tell me you never enjoyed your work, because I know you did. All those people you murdered, the families you tore apart, you loved every single second of it. Bullshit. Without warning, the girl launched herself at him, her left arm cocked back for a steam-enhanced punch. Kabuto was surprised by her speed, yet he managed to take a step back just as she swung at him, only for the fist blow back with a burst of steam from her knuckles, throwing and spinning her elbow right back at him. The sharp joint grazed against his face, making a small cut across his cheekbone. Everything I did, Tayuya spat at him as she spun back around, launching herself into the air, was out of fear. Her hands flashed through Seal so fast that Shikamaru doubted that even Sasuke's Sharingan could catch them. Yotan, Uganryu no Jutsu. As she landed, the ground around her heated up at her feet to a boiling angry red, and continued to spread around until the jutsu was formed, and a gigantic head reared out of the molten rock. Damn! Shikamaru yelped, grabbing Ranmaru by the kimono, and dragging him out of the way as the lava dragon roared at the stunned Kabuto, and shot forward, Tayuya atop its head. Let's see you get away from this, you sick fucker. Tayuya screamed angrily as Kabuto fled the dragon's maw. Tayuya directed the serpentine jutsu after him, covering the floor with more of the molten rock. Kabuto shot off the ground and onto the wall, going straight to the ceiling, and smirked, "My word, will little wonders never cease?" He smiled, "I had no idea you could use Yotan ninjutsu like this? It makes me wonder what I'll find when I get you back on my table." Tayuya glared at him from the head of the dragon, "You'll never touch another person ever again when I'm through with you." She leapt from the dragon and hit the ground, Yotan, Yugon Shuriken. From the pools of magma created by the dragon shot multiple projectiles as the silver-haired teen ran, laughing. "I think you'll find yourself on my waiting list of patients sooner than you think." Kabuto smiled in an imitation of his sensei. "Tell me, have you had the chance to tell Naruto-kun that you were there the day Orochimaru-sama murdered the Sandaime Hokage?" He smirked as Tayuya stopped dead in her tracks. "Oh, dear me, it seems you haven't." "Shut up!" Tayuya spat, hurling her molten projectiles at him once more, but the girl was already frazzled from his words. "What would your dear, sweet boyfriend think," Kabuto sneered as he ducked and dodged the shuriken, "if he found out that his lovely Tayuya-chan was partly responsible for the death of a man that partially raised him?" "Shut the fuck up!" Tayuya barreled after him, snarling in rage. Kabuto was waiting for her, his hands flattened in the chakra scalpel, ready to cut her down. "You are within my field of divination," said a small voice from behind him. Kabuto cursed as he turned, having forgotten about the little Byakugan user. There stood Ranmaru, his eyes gleaming an eerie white in the dark of the cavernous room. Kabuto made to get away, but then found himself stuck to the ground. Kage main no jutsu complete, Shikamaru grinned from the ground as Ranmaru neared him. "Take him down, Ranmaru." "Hack Hyaku Nijihachi!" Ranmaru shouted out as he moved with blinding speeds and struck Kabuto's body like a freight train, all 128 strikes finding a home on him as the boy blurred with motion. Ranmaru's attack ended with an uppercut palm thrust to Kabuto's chin, sending him hurtling into the air. "Eat this!" Tayuya roared, and hammered a steam chakra-enhanced punch into him, snapping his neck around at an awkward angle. Kabuto's body went sailing into the wall, and slumped to the ground, limp. Tayuya stood over him, panting, completely out of breath. "Kami, did that feel good?" Ranmaru and Shikamaru came over to her, the latter catching Tayuya around her waist and hugging her tightly. "Wani-san." Tayuya smiled and patted his head. "Thanks, Ranchan, that was great work you did," she said, and looked up at the Nara. "Thanks to you, too, lazy-ass." Shikamaru just shrugged. "It'd be way too troublesome to explain to Naruto-kun that you did all the hard work, and ended up getting hurt on my watch. Matter of fact, it might be life-threatening." Tayuya blushed. "He's not that protective of me, I think." Shikamaru scoffed. "Yeah, right, and I'm the yondaime." Ranmaru laughed, and looked up at his sister. "Can we go find Aniki now?" Suddenly, the compound shook violently as a loud explosion sounded above them. Tayuya and Shikamaru looked up at the cracked ceiling. Shikamaru groaned, "We should get going. Naruto's 3 floors above us, and it sounds like the fight's just getting started." Tayuya looked at him. "Hey, you've seen this Sasuke guy fight, right? Do you think Naruto's got a chance against him?" Shikamaru sighed. "It's troublesome to think about it, but with those damned eyes of his, and the addition of the mark on him, and I'm guessing that he's gotten twice as strong as he was back in the village, with Naruto's sub-elemental jutsu, and Sasuke's Sharingan, I'd call it an even match." "But Naruto Nizan has Raigasan's Kiba," Ranmaru pointed out. "And Sasuke uses Rasen Jutsu," Shikamaru said. "Like I said, it's an even match." "Then we'd better get up there," Tayuya said, glancing over at Kabuto. "We managed to take out this guy, but there's no telling what Sasuke's capable of." Kabuto's body twitched, making the girl jump as the teen staggered to his feet, his neck hanging crookedly, before reaching up and twisting his neck back into place with a sickening crack. Hoo, that was quite something. It's been a while since I've had to dislocate my spine like that. He grinned, rotating his neck as he glared at the trio. Tayuya gulped back the bile that rose in her throat. So, that's why you've only been using the scalpel, you're a corpse. Say what? Shikamaru gasped, pointing at the teen. How the hell is that a corpse? Tayuya scoffed, and pointed at him as well. Take a good look at him. All of that damage we did would have killed even Orochimaru if he wasn't taking us seriously, but Kabuto good at hand to hand, and he never even let us get close to him the entire time, like he was hiding something. She said, pointing out the injuries they had dealt. Upon closer inspection, the young Nara found that Tayuya was right. Blood was covering Kabuto's body from head to toe, and he realized that a great deal of it was leaking from his nostrils, eyes, and ears, signifying significant brain trauma, if the organ was still even intact after Ranmaru had hammered him only moments ago. Kami, what the hell is this guy? Shikamaru breathed out. You mean we haven't even been fighting the real one? Kabuto chuckled, very astute. He said, gesturing to himself, you see, while I'm not as good at the impure summoning jutsu, I am proficient at my own little corpse dance. My undead marionettes are quite effective against people whose skills I wish to gauge. Such as yours, Tayuya-chan. The way he drew out her name made the girl in question want to vomit. A major junior pedophile that likes fucking with dead bodies, Tayuya growled, why am I not surprised? She smirked, but, you did forget something. While you can manipulate these things from a distance, you have to be within a few yards of the body. She held up her hands in the sign of the tiger. Also, you forgot about my dragon. Kabuto's face blanched for a moment as the lava around him erupted into coils as Tayuya's lava dragon rose once more, its jaws agape, and crashed down onto him, drawing one last laugh from the corpse puppet. Tayuya turned back to her comrades. Ranmaru, find us a way out of here. I'm bringing this whole fucking place down on his head. Ranmaru glared around the room for a moment, but shook his head. There's only one way out, and that's through that wall over there. He said, pointing behind the corpse, and it looks like there's more of those things behind it. The corpse grinned. Well, what a strong little Byakugan user you are. He smiled. Once Orochimaru-sama plucks those eyes from your head, maybe he'll let me examine you. Like hell, Shikamaru stepped forward, and placed his hand on Tayuya's shoulder. Leave this one to me. You go get that wall open. Tayuya gave the Nara a small look, and found his expression as dark as hers had been. I've had enough of this traitor. It's one thing to speak of things of the past, but to threaten a child like Ranmaru when he's not even a shinobi is something I will not allow. As a shinobi of Konoha, it is my duty to protect the king. He raised his hands up and clasped them together. Kage Gijin no Jutsu. Two shadows arose from his feet, and shaped themselves into clones, slamming into the corpse, and wrapping around him before tightening around it. A sickly crunching, squelching sound came from within the shadows. One down. Shikamaru sighed, looking toward the wall. How many to go? 2 more, Ranmaru told him. There's one more, though, but he looks alive. That'll be Kabuto. Tayuya cracked her knuckles. Well, let's get that thing open. She grinned and raised up her hand. Shikamaru raised his brow, only for both to shoot up as a damned familiar jutsu formed in her palm. Is that Rasengan? Tayuya roared and crashed through the wall, collapsing it. The real Kabuto shot out of the debris, along with 2 more dead bodies in his shape. Ranmaru went after one right away. The corpse puppet grinned and slashed at him, only for the younger boy to grind into him using the katen taught to him by Niji, pulverizing him. The other was easily dispatched by Shikamaru, growing tired of the games, and the puppet soon followed its brother much the same way as it was crushed by the shadows. Kabut, the real one, landed heavily, panting for breath. Second flaw for that jutsu, it takes up way too much chakra. Tayuya stood, her hand smoldering from the Rasengan she just used. Third flaw, you are fucked. Kabuto rose to his feet, dusting himself off. Please, you barely managed to keep up with the main puppet I was focusing on. He said, smiling at the girl. What chance do you have against the real thing? Ranmaru glared at him. You're too loud. What a rude little boy, Kabuto sneered. You should respect your elders, Gaki. Respect? Ranmaru muttered in a moment of childishness. I don't know what that word means. Tayuya facepalmed. After all the lessons we've gone through. Kabuto sighed. What is this, a fight or a comedy skit? Tayuya glared at the teen. It's called a distraction, you fucking turd monkey. The shadows beneath Kabuto suddenly jutted up into thousands of needle-like spikes, cutting and impaling him. The shock to his system was so great that the boy never had a chance to scream before he fell. Shikamaru let his hands drop from the boar seal, and that is what a successful Kage Zashiro jutsu is capable of, he said while smirking at his handiwork. For someone compared to Kakashi in terms of strength, he sure didn't stand a chance against a surprise attack. Ranmaru placed his arms behind his head and grinned. How'd I do, Wani-san? Tayuya returned the grin from where she stood. Not bad for a rookie smartass, but you'll get there if you hang around me and shithead Long Ino. Tum. The trio was nearly knocked off their feet as the explosion shook the room. That's gotta be Naruto and Sasuke, or maybe even Jiraiya and Orochimaru if they found him yet. Doesn't matter, Tayuya said, making for the hole in the wall. We need to get up there. =X=. It was exactly like the last time they'd fought. Naruto and Sasuke waiting for the other to make their move first, Sasuke banking on the fact that Naruto was impatient, and attack first, anticipating his moves with his Sharingan. Both of them had their jutsu and weapons primed. Naruto then smirked, copy this. He touched the blades together, Raikyu. The lightning ball formed and flew from his blades faster than ever as the blonde began his attack. Sasuke dodged the attack easily and rushed to meet him in the middle, his Chidori screaming. Totan no Justu. Naruto shouted and disappeared, prompting Sasuke to stop and search for him, only for the sharp pain of a blade cutting across his face to distract him. Sasuke, Naruto's voice reached him. Ever hear of the old death by 1,000 cuts? No? You're about to. Stop hiding. Sasuke roared, still searching the room. Who's hiding? Naruto said from behind him, and Sasuke glared over his shoulder as Naruto's arms blurred into 6, Mostu no Orochi. Naruto's sword lashed out, striking Sasuke in rapid succession, slicing him thinly across his skin as the little thunderbolts sparked through him. Naruto then backhanded him across the face, sending him sprawling. Sasuke glared at him as he skidded to a stop. Dope. Shut up. Naruto was suddenly in front of him, and kicked him in the face. Tell me, team, where's all that strength of yours you were supposed to get from Orochimaru, huh? Sasuke stood, and charged him again, kunai in hand, only for the blonde to flash away. Sasuke was then sent flying from a kick to his spine. You're not even putting up a fight. Naruto roared and slammed into him again. Where's the son of a bitch that nearly killed me? Wham! Sasuke was kicked upward toward the ceiling, where Naruto was already waiting, and slammed back toward the ground. Where's the bastard that claimed I was his best friend? Naruto asked as Sasuke hit the ground. Sasuke staggered to his feet, glaring. I told you. It's too late. Lightning sparked around his hands. Chidori Senbon. Naruto was caught off guard as he descended, the tiny needles of lightning catching in the right shoulder and left leg, immediately causing his limbs to go numb. Naruto just grinned. Bullshit. He sent another Raitun toward the Uchiha, deflected by his natural affinity. If that's true, then why didn't you kill me? He asked as he landed, straightening up to look at his friend. I know about the Manjikyu, and how it's unlocked, Sasuke. If you wanted that power so badly, then why the hell am I still alive? Sasuke flinched at that. I just didn't want to obtain power the same way my brother did. Naruto scoffed, still calling bullshit. He snapped, looking over to where Sakura was standing, watching the fight with worry. Hell, you could have killed Sakura-chan, and… Shut up, Dobe! Sasuke roared, and rushed him again, his speed catching unawares. What the hell do you know about it? He slammed into him, punching the blonde in the face, splattering him with his own blood as his cuts splashed all over. It's easy for you to talk like that. You've never had to lose anyone. He drew back for another punch, and Naruto raised his hand to catch it, gripping it tightly before crunching his fist, causing Sasuke to cry out. That's enough, Naruto growled, shocking both Sasuke and Sakura with the coldness in his voice. You think you're the only one that's lost someone? Guess again, team. He reared back his leg and, why not? Kicked him square in the balls. Gah! Sasuke's eyes bugged out as he dropped to his knees. But Naruto wasn't through, and picked him up by his shirt, bringing him back up to his eye level. Think about it, you little bitch. We are shinobi. He headbutted him, causing a gash to open up on both of their heads. Wanna know what drives me nuts the most? Naruto asked, dropping him to the floor. You and I, we two are exactly the same. No we're not, Sasuke growled, wiping his eyes clear of blood. There's nothing about us that's remotely similar. Naruto chuckled, and sealed away his swords. My girlfriend said something like that a few months ago. Naruto laughed, shaking his head, but the fact of the matter is this. Both you and I know exactly how it feels, to be completely and utterly alone. That got even Sasuke to look at the blonde for a moment. Face it, Naruto said, every day after your family was murdered, you went to school, got fawned over by everyone because they wanted to coddle up to you, which sickened me to no end, by the way, and you had the love of the entire village just because you were the last Uchiha. But when you went home, there was no one there to say welcome home, or ask you how your day had been. No one to hold your hand and say it would be alright when you felt like dying. Naruto looked down at his old teammate, understanding beginning to dawn in his red eyes. Me? Naruto continued, I felt like that every single day. Kicked out of the orphanage at 4, ignored for almost all of my life except for a few kind people that looked past my past. Then I met you, and I immediately hated you, Naruto sneered, because you had everything I wanted. You had friends, a family, no one treated you like a shadow, and you threw that all away. Naruto roared, and kicked Sasuke across the room. For what? Sasuke staggered back to his feet. I needed strength. Strength? Naruto roared again, and appeared in front of him. You want strength? I'll show you true strength. He growled and punched the Uchiha in the face, hard, and went on, pummeling him with punches and kicks faster than Sasuke could keep up. One last punch to the gut, and Sasuke was coughing up blood as he sank to his knees. Naruto grabbed him by the hair and hauled him back up. You once asked me how I'm as strong as I am. It's because of you. Sasuke cracked his eyes open. What? It's because I had you and Sakura-chan, and even Kaka-sensei, even though he favored you over us. Naruto went on, it's because I finally found a family in Team 7, even if I had to contend with a depressing little rat like you, and a lousy sensei that liked reading porn all damn day, or even Sakura-chan, the girl I had a crush on as she tried to gain your affections. As long as I had you three, that's all I needed to get by. That's where true strength comes from. The people around you. He let go, allowing Sasuke to slump to the floor. Family means everything to me, Sasuke team, and like it or not, I've thought of you as my brother for a long time, even if we were never that close. I wanted to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, to be strong, like you, to be acknowledged. He started unwrapping the bandages around his right arm, but then that sleazy snake came along, and gave you that mark on your neck. Are you seriously okay with being used like that? Sasuke glared up at him. If it helps me get my revenge. Wake up! Naruto growled, grabbing him by the shoulder, and Sasuke noticed the massive sealing array tattooed on his arm. Revenge doesn't solve anything. If it did, you'd be dead right now with my Rasengan in your heart. With that, he threw the boy toward Sakura. Heads up, Sakura. Sakura acted out right away, and caught him, pinning him to the ground. I'm really sorry about this, Sasuke-kun. Not as sorry as he's gonna be when I get through with him, Naruto stated as he moved toward them, flexing his arm. This is gonna hurt like a son of a bitch. Sasuke glared at him again. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto shrugged. I'm doing a favor to Sakura-chan, who, despite the fact that you put her poor little heart through hell, is deeply in love with you, and your oh-so-murderous brother, a favor. What does my brother have to do with this? Sasuke roared. Tell me. Gladly, Naruto knelt down, placing his arm over the seal. He asked me to save your sorry ass, and since that's one promise, and one request, I figured I'd better follow through. Naruto grinned. Now hold still. The seals on Naruto's arm began to glow, and Sasuke felt a blinding pain shoot through his body unlike anything he'd ever felt before, and he, the last of the elite Uchiha, screamed bloody murder as the seal started eating away at his own. Chapter 26. The moment Naruto's arm touched the curse mark on Sasuke's neck, he knew there was something wrong. He knew it would be painful for Sasuke, but the pain that shot through him was excruciating. It was like getting shocked by the Kiba 10 times over again and again. Sakura's eyes widened as the Uzumaki and Uchiha groaned as pain shot through their bodies. Even holding on to Sasuke as she wanted nothing more than to stop it before either one of them was hurt. Naruto! Sakura yelled to the blonde. What's happening? Naruto growled, keeping the seal in place as it did Kit's work. It's different than what I got off Tayuya. He groaned. There's more layers. Sasuke looked up at the blonde Chunin. What the hell are you doing to me? He yelled. Make it stop. 20 seconds. Naruto ground out. Hang in there for that long. Naruto focused on his right arm, making sure to keep feeding chakra into the seal as he broke through the first layer, an obedience seal. That's one. Sasuke groaned as memories started returning to him. Of the other Uchiha being held down in the lower levels. And the skeletal bodies of the imprisoned people alongside him. His brother. And Naruto. There's another Uchiha here. Later. Naruto roared, forcing the second seal apart, an enzyme seal that forced drugs and other substances into the body. That's two. Stop it. Sasuke roared, you're killing me. Suck it up. Sakura yelled, he's hurting just as much as you are. Naruto groaned again as a strange sensation made its way up his arm. He cracked an eyes open, and, to his horror, scales not unlike that of a snake had found their way up his wrist. What the? Runt, you need to hurry this up. The Kyuubi roared, the seal you're working on has a piece of that Hebe's soul inside it. Probably to use later on to make him his vessel, and it's trying to latch onto you. Terrific. Think you can help me out here? Naruto groaned as the scale slowly made it higher up his arm. It's fighting me. Channel some of my chakra into your sealing matrix. It'll corrupt it, and possibly destroy it, but it'll be just enough to smash through the remaining seals on that brat since you're so hellbent on saving him. Naruto did as instructed, channeling a tiny amount of the Kyuubi's chakra into his sealing arm, noticing the change almost immediately as the seals, which glowed green at first, now glowed a light shade of red. Sasuke screamed even louder as the potent chakra washed over his seal like acid over his skin, and the third seal shattered, and found yet another one right beneath it. Naruto's arm was now covered in scales up to his elbow as he fought the seal once again, and broke through, causing the scales to recede, much to his relief. The only seal left now was Kya. Sakura yelped, releasing Sasuke a moment later as his body began to change according to the nature seal at the bottom. His skin turned a purplish gray, his eyes turning amber as his Sharingan glowed. What's happening now? Last one. Naruto roared as Sasuke's back began to bulge out as his wings sprouted from his back. And then it was gone. Sasuke's seal was broken, and the Uchiha was totally free of Orochimaru's influence. Both teens collapsed to the floor, exhausted from the ordeal, and Sasuke's body started returning to normal. What did you do to me? Sasuke panted. I feel good? Naruto smirked. I'd imagine you feel a little less clouded up here? He tapped his own forehead. Sasuke shook his head, sorta. Naruto, what you said? Meant every word, Naruto groaned, getting to his feet, and dusting his hands off, and extended one to Sasuke. Upsy daisy, team, we've got work to do. Sasuke took it with a little hesitation as Naruto hauled him up, and sighed. You know that I can't seriously return to the village, right? Sasuke said, grimacing. I left. Even if I was being drawn out, I'm still classified as a nuke-nin. I'll either be executed or locked up. What? Sakura shouted, coming to their sides. They can't do that. Naruto shrugged. They're well within right to do that, he sighed, crossing his arms. We could file an appeal for mercy since his clan's technically dying out, but then the elders would insist he be taken off active duty and placed a breeding program. Sasuke blanched. What am I? A stud horse? Basically, Naruto deadpanned, earning a glare from the Uchiha. Another option would be a vote of redemption. But that's damn near impossible. Sakura sighed. Why? Because, Naruto went on, if memory serves me right, no one has ever done so within the Hidden Leaf Village before. And Sasuke would have to do something pretty big to earn their trust again. He sighed. Man, there's only one option at this point. He runs, and we hope that after Tsunade steps down, Kakashi, as his former sensei, decides to show a bit of mercy and let him back in. After all the trouble you went through to get him back? Sakura shrieked, causing Naruto wince. Sorry. I didn't mean to. It's fine, Naruto said, and reached for his earpiece. Oi, Toad, Kage, this is Orange, what's going on? Naruto. Tayuya's voice nearly blasted his ears off. Thank fucking Kami. Are you alright? Tayuya, simmer down. Jiraiya's voice cut in, but I'm of the same opinion. What's happening with you, Gaki? We thought we lost you for a while? Naruto smirked. We got Sasuke, he said smiling, but now we need Kakashi down here. You guys anywhere near us? This is Kakashi, the lazy Kage in training said. I'm one floor above you if my sensing skills are anything to go on. We'll be down in 2 shakes. Just you, sensei, Naruto said, sighing. Sasuke said that there were more prisoners down below. One of them was supposedly an Uchiha survivor. Have Asuma and his team move down there and get them out. After that, set up some explosive tags. Bossy, aren't we? Kakashi chuckled. Alright, I'm on my way. Team 10 is heading down. Oh, and Ino-chan says hi to her, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke shivered, remembering Ino's voice to be even shriller than Sakura's at some point. Any sign of Orochimaru, yet? Jiraiya asked. Not on our end, Naruto said, looking around the room. We're in his holding area with all of those cursed seal monsters he created. He looked over at Sasuke, to think that one of these things could have been you, huh? Was Sasuke reply, remind me why I didn't kill you. Friends? Naruto shrugged. Oi, we took care of Kabuto, Tayuya yelled, that lazy ass actually got him. And now he's being stingy, telling us he won't teach that jutsu to us because it's a clan secret. It's too troublesome to deal with my dad if I did teach you, Shikamaru sighed tiredly. Anyway, she's right, Kabuto's dead. Naruto growled, did you check his vitals? I've hit him with my Rasengan before, and he still managed to get up. I turned him into a pincushion, Shikamaru said. There's no way that he could possibly. Mednin trained by Orochimaru, Naruto pointed out, if anyone could survive, it'd be him. Toad, keep looking, we'll wait for Kakashi, and then head to Asuma to evacuate the prisoners. Once we're out, head back up and we'll blow this place like Tsunade when someone points out a wrinkle. Haha. I am so telling her you said that. Jiraiya laughed, just be careful, Gaki. If he's still moving around, then there's a chance he might make a grab for Sasuke again. Keep your guard up. Will do, Naruto sighed, looking around the room. It's strange though, why haven't any of these things attacked, yet? You talking about the curse mark rejects? Tayuya asked, those things don't really have any humanity left in them, shithead Kuin, only base animal instinct. If they come across something stronger than they are, like you and that Uchiha dumbass, then they'll stay away. Only other reason they'd attack is if someone ordered them to. Sasuke shrugged. I've had to kill plenty of them in the last few months, he said, looking around at the forsaken creatures. They're probably afraid of me, and now Naruto since he was able to beat me. Naruto nodded, that makes a lot of sense. It's like a wolf pack, whoever beats the top dog, is the new top dog. That's right, Sasuke nodded. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura. Kakashi's voice cut through the halls, and they saw him coming down the hall, a grin visible behind his mask. Aniki. Naruto turned to the opposite side of the room and smiled as Tayuya, Ranmaru, and Shikamaru came running toward them from the opposite hall. But it was a short-lived celebration as the four of them neared. Another network of seals appeared on the walls, and a barrier shot up in front of the halls, effectively blocking them. Damn it! Naruto roared, rushing to the nearest barrier, where Tayuya was pounding a fist against it in vain to try to break through. It only took a moment to realize that the barrier wasn't something he was able to break through just yet. At least not without a great deal of time, and lots of chakra. Neither of which he had, as a sound so chilling echoed through the chamber. It was Orochimaru's laughter, bouncing off the walls of the cavernous room, sending shivers running down the blonde spine, and a look of outright fear across Tayuya's face. Get out of there, Naruto, Tayuya almost begged, you've got to get out of there. Naruto was frantically trying to come up with something on his level to bring down the barrier, but, as he thought, it would take a great deal of time. And that was something he did not have. Damn it. Manger formation. Naruto growled, leaping back to his team, all of them standing back to back, kunai drawn. He looked over at his shoulder at Sasuke. You don't plan on betraying us, right? He asked with a smirk. Che, Sasuke scoffed, if I did, you really think I'd still be here? He asked as the Snake Sannin's voice drifted down to them. Oh, Sasuke-kun, such a naughty child you've been. Orochimaru said, snooping where you're not allowed, betraying your sensei. Whatever shall I do with you? Sasuke just sneered, you gave me a small taste of something I never wanted. You stole a member of my clan and kept him prisoner. You took a brother, someone I never knew existed. He growled, I don't see what reason I have to even listen to your lies anymore. Power, the snake hissed, causing all of them to look up, and freeze as a gigantic white snake was seen clinging to the ceiling, gazing down at them. Power is what you wanted, and power is what I gave. Be honest, Sasuke-kun, you were far better off with me than your so-called friends. They did nothing more than hold you back. The snake cast its gaze down at Sakura, a loud, useless kunoichi that wanted to offer her love to you when you could have had someone from a powerful clan. The snake then moved its gaze to Naruto, who glared right back, a little brat playing at being Hokage, even going so far as to dare surpass you in power. The snake finally let its eyes fall upon Kakashi, and a sensei that would have you hold back from your dreams, who would have you forget your purpose, how the mighty would have you fall. Sasuke grit his teeth, you're right, I did want power. Sasuke-kun. Sakura gasped. But I didn't want this. Sasuke growled, ignoring her outburst, and gestured all around him, you tricked me. The snake descended then, making the three teammates wary. It was as thick as the trunk of an oak tree. Its face morphed into a snake-like visage of Orochimaru, its scales becoming snake heads as hair sprouted from its head. You allowed yourself to be tricked, Sasuke-kun. Admit it, Naruto's growth as a shinobi enrages you, doesn't it? Why should a clanless brat like him have such power, while you, a member of the great Uchiha clan, struggles to keep up? Naruto groaned as Orochimaru stroked Sasuke's ego, the one thing that was sure to rile him up beyond belief. But to his surprise, Sasuke spat at the snake. Naruto always had me beat in physical strength and speed. I'll never catch up to him in that aspect. Sasuke admitted, causing Naruto to grin at his friend, and he to return it, and ninjutsu is something, I think, that will always be equal in. Not even my Chidori could overpower his Rasengan. Sasuke looked up at the snake. Before you, I had started to look at him as a rival. Someone I could pit myself against without worry, or consequences. We were always competing against each other to try and beat the other, but he's always been stronger than me. Oh? Orochimaru hummed, and why do you say that? The snake's coils touched the ground and the small team tensed. Sasuke's Sharingan flared to life, because Naruto would never believe the likes of you. He brought his hands up in the tiger seal, Katan, Hosenka no Jutsu. The snake disappeared as Sasuke's barrage of fireballs passed right through where it had been. Damn, where'd he go? Sasuke snapped, only to be slapped in the back of the head by Naruto. Oh, don't lose your cool, Naruto snapped. This ain't no ordinary Jonin we're up against, it's a Sannin, and what's worse, it's Orochimaru. Akage. Lose it here, and that's it. Kakashi banged on the wall from his end, just find a way out of there. You won't be able to beat him. Naruto sighed, we're not trying to beat him, we're trying to stall him until Pervy Sage arrives, he said, touching his radio. You are coming our way, right? Damned right I am, Jiraiya said, we're a little ways off, but we should be there soon, even if I have to break through the floor. Naruto chuckled as he felt Orochimaru's killing intent all around them. That might not be such a bad idea. The room was empty, but the trio knew better than to feel safe. Orochimaru had them right where he wanted them and he knew it well. Sasuke would be the intended target, but Naruto knew that he'd go for either himself or Sakura first in order to get Sasuke by himself. Above? Sakura asked, glancing at the ceiling. Below? Sakura suggested. Naruto shook his head, from the walls. Wrong, a chill went down each of their spines. Naruto whipped around just in time to see the blade descending toward him, and quickly brought his arms up in a crossguard, ice forming on his forearms. Hayatan, Naruto growled as the sword screeched against the ice, Saihi Azuchi. He lashed out, punching at the Sannin, only for him to easily dodge his strikes. Sasuke was only a step behind him in the attack, firing off another Phoenix Jutsu. Sakura even showed off a little in going after the man with a vicious roundhouse kick and straight punch that would have easily knocked even Kakashi out as it shattered the stone floor when she missed. Naruto raised his brow at her while Sasuke looked astonished. You know? Naruto said in a moment of fear, if we keep giving her trouble, Sakura-chan's gonna end up killing both of us. Sasuke let a ghost of a chuckle escape his lips, she is rather imposing, isn't she? Meanwhile, Tayuya and her team were trying desperately to get into the fight, only the barrier was holding up against everything they threw at it. Ranmaru had even searched for weak points with his Tensigan, but found none. Tayuya had hammered away at it with her Futon-enhanced strength, and held her now bleeding hands. Fuck, this is impossible. Tayuya swore, we've tried everything. What about going under it? Shikamaru suggested, at his wit's end as he watched Team 7 going up against an opponent that was obviously toying with them. No, Orochimaru always made sure that his barriers blocked off all points of entry, Tayuya sighed, the only one I knew of that could break through them was Kimimaro, and he used his Kekkei Genkai to do it. What was that? Shikamaru asked in hope. His bones, Tayuya hung her head, he'd create this huge lance out of his arm, and strike at the barrier wall with everything he had, and punch right through it. Damn, I thought we had something, Shikamaru cursed. Oniisan. Ranmaru screamed out as they whipped around to see Naruto slam against the ground, bouncing off only to flicker away in a shushin. Naruto growled, his blades of ice flashing, and Orochimaru dodged, but noticed that the blonde was trying to get in close to him, not to cut, but to seal as he took in the glowing marks on his arm. The remnants of a powerful seal that, while damaged, could easily cause trouble for him. He caught both ice blades against his own, as another blade came from his mouth, whipping his head around and Naruto leapt back, but not in time to save himself as the blade cleaved his arm at the elbow. The blonde's scream of agony echoed off the walls as Sasuke wrapped an arm around him, pulling him away from the snake sword, and into the arms of Sakura. She desperately began healing the bleeding stump that had been Naruto's arm. Naruto was badly injured, and losing both blood and chakra fast thanks to his maintained use of the ice on his arms, and swords, to keep them hardened. Damn it, this is getting us nowhere. He growled, looking down at his severed arm. Sasuke, please tell me you have an idea? Sasuke scoffed, you're joking right? He asked, how do 3 14-year-olds plan against a Sannin? You don't, Orochimaru said for himself, and appeared right behind the Uchiha, backhanding him into the lone medic on the team. He then extended his neck out toward him, his fangs out, and prepared to bite him once more. Sakura saw this, and shoved Sasuke out of his reach and stepped in front of him. Sasuke and Naruto, fast as they were no match for the Sannin. Nor could Orochimaru alter his path even if he wanted to. Sakura, her kunai drawn in front of her, could only smile as she felt his fangs sinking into her throat, and was lifted off the ground. Sakura! Sakura's body was whipped around like a rag doll as Orochimaru threw her from his grasp, dropping her 40 feet to the ground as he retracted his neck to his shoulders, a sadistic grin on his face. Oh, what a pity. Sasuke and Naruto rushed to her side as Sakura gurgled out of her torn throat. She looked up at her friends, Sasuke and Naruto both yelling at her, but she couldn't hear them. Something was wrong. Was her neck broken? Probably, since she couldn't feel any pain from the bite, or the fall. A shaky smile pulled at her lips as the light began to fade from her sight. At least I was able to protect them, she thought as she felt something warm hitting her face. Her eyes found Sasuke's, both of which were bleeding as he looked down at her. She raised her hand as if to wipe those tears away, to tell him that it was all right. But her hand would barely move, and her voice wouldn't work. Her body went cold in Sasuke's arms as the hot tears of blood ran down his face. Both the Uchiha and Uzumaki heirs felt something welling up from deep inside them. Neither one of them had ever felt such pain. No, pain wasn't enough to describe what they were feeling at the loss of their once teammate. Such a pity, Orochimaru smiled as he came up to the two boys. If only she hadn't been stupid enough to get in my way, this all could have been avoided. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Both teens turned to the Sannin with blood-red eyes, one of which had a distinct floral pattern to it, while the other was a glaring demonic eye with a single slit. 3 tails erupted from Naruto's form as a cloud of red chakra enveloped him while Sasuke stood on shaky legs, and black flames began to burn in his eyes. Naruto growled at him in feral rage as he bared his fangs at him. What did you say, you filthy piece of shit? His arm began to bulge and convulse as a new appendage grew from the stump. Sasuke clenched his fists as lightning began to spark. I'm pretty sure he was calling Sakura stupid. Dobe, why don't we show him what happens when someone does that? == Hurry the hell up, Sara yelled, we're only a few more minutes argh. Sara fell to his knees, clutching at his head. What is this? He cried. Korin. Jiraiya, startled by this, knelt next to with Sasami behind him. What's wrong? Is something wrong with the seal? Sara shook his head, sweat beading his brow. I don't know. Korin says that the other one is angry. He growled, and a thin veil of red began rising from his skin. Chapter 27. Itachi stilled as he sensed the chakra roiling from inside the compound. There was no mistaking it. This was the chakra of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The halls of the compound shook with an almighty roar that had even himself staggering. I need to find Sasuke before this gets even more out of hand, he said to himself, and sped down the hall. If there wasn't so much chakra in the air, I could actually get a read on him, but with Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Kakashi, and the Kyuubi no Jinchuriki around, I can't get a lock on him. He rounded the corner of one of the halls, and bumbled right into a body, much to his shame. What the dash? The man shouted, dropping his cigarette. He looked down to see what he'd hit and nearly choked. Itachi. Tsukuyomi. Itachi muttered, casting his Genjutsu to hold them there for a few minutes while he fled. They came from the upper levels, and were heading down. That must mean that Sasuke is somewhere else. He sped along the corridors and started making his way up, toward the battle raging on. Asuma and his team shook themselves as Itachi's Genjutsu wore off. Damn. Asuma groaned, holding his head, that Genjutsu's no joke. Ino shivered, it felt like I was going to freeze to death. She said, holding herself, I was trapped. Yeah, Choji murmured, like we were suffocating. Asuma growled and reached for his radio. Oi, Kakashi, Jiraiya, we've got trouble. He yelled, Itachi's here. We just ran into him, and got caught in his Genjutsu. Asuma said, but there was no answer on the other end. Oi! Are you there? BZZT. Azuma-san. It was Sasami. Jiraiya-sensei's not moving right now. He's just sitting in the lotus position. I don't know what's wrong. Neji and Sora say that he's gathering chakra to himself, but I don't see how. That's called Senjutsu, Kakashi finally answered. You would do well to stay away from him until he moves again. In the meantime, Asuma, keep moving toward the lower levels. Even if Itachi is here, his presence could only help at this point. Help? Asuma growled, what's going on over there? We just lost Sakura-chan. Naruto and Sasuke rushed their opponent. Naruto's chakra shroud billowed out behind him as his tails lashed the ground. Sasuke was right beside him, the scream of his Chidori echoing off the walls. Orochimaru just smiled at them. Sasuke struck out with the lightning jutsu, parried by Orochimaru's hand, and whipped around to send the boy careening into the enraged blonde. Naruto easily caught him with his tails, and launched him at the snake Sannin like a kunai, letting Sasuke get of another shot while Naruto closed in. As Orochimaru prepared to parry the blow again, Naruto roared, sending out a shock wave of sound that unsettled him, almost making him lose his footing, and just enough to let his guard down for a moment. Sasuke rammed the Chidori through his shoulder, missing his intended target of his heart, but managing to wound him was more than enough to bring a vindictive smile to the boy's face. Naruto. Now! 3 chakra arms slammed into the pair, raising them high. Sasuke pulled his arm free, and leapt away as Naruto brought the arms down. Orochimaru wriggled to get away, but the arms had a hold of his sides and one gripped his head. The Sannin was slammed into the ground head first, his legs dangling limply. Sasuke landed beside Naruto with a slight glimmer of hope. Did that do it? No, even if I did that 100 times, he still wouldn't die. Naruto growled, he's just being dramatic. He looked over at the Uchiha. Those eyes are stronger than the normal Sharingan, right? Think you can do something against him? Sasuke shook his head. Amaterasu and Susanoo aren't a natural occurrence. I need time to manifest them. He looked at the blonde. How long can you stay like that? When we fought, your arm was. Not much longer, Naruto growled. I can already feel it eating away at me. Give it about 5 more minutes, and I'll be in trouble. Orochimaru began to move again, a sickening cracking sound coming from his body as he pushed himself out of the ground, his neck askew. Sasuke sighed. All right. I saw in the bingo books that you can use Shikuten. What can you do? Naruto took a deep breath, and cast a glance over at Sakura's body, then over to the side where Tayuya, Ranmaru and Shikamaru were watching. His eyes went wide as a thought struck him. Get Sakura's body and hide. I've got something special planned for this bastard. Sasuke recognized the glimmer in his red eyes and grinned. On your mark, then. Go! With that, the pair split up, Naruto barreling toward the Sannin, and Sasuke dashing to his friend. He didn't know why, but if Naruto wanted her body safe, then he was damned sure going to make sure it stayed that way. Naruto brought up his hands, his shroud fading as he focused all of his chakra into the jutsu. Please let this work. Shikuten, Shukyaku. Orochimaru laughed as the golden-white flames erupted from the blonde's body in a sphere, surrounding him like a miniature sun. Orochimaru brought his thumbs up to his mouth and bit down. Sunju Rashuman. He shouted just as Naruto's attack exploded outward, incinerating anything around him. Sasuke took cover behind a pillar that still stood as the flames washed over the room, and the boy was nearly caught as he held Sakura close, his back against the wall. Orochimaru's Rashuman had erupted from the ground, but were melting fast, the jutsu too intense for them to withstand. Tayuya and her team watched as the barrier began to crack under the onslaught of flames, and Naruto disappeared from sight. So that's what he did, Tayuya breathed out, her eyes widening, her hands flying to her lips. Kami, I've never seen such a... Yeah, Shikamaru said, placing his hand on hers and Ranmaru's shoulders. That's more power than I've ever seen. Oni-san's gonna be okay, right? Ranmaru asked, looking up at Tayuya. He'd better be, Tayuya said softly. Then she backed up. Enough is enough, the barrier's cracking. Now's our chance to break through. She snapped, forming her Rasengan. There's no way I'm letting shithead steal the show. Meanwhile, Kakashi had had the same idea as Tayuya as he rushed the barrier with his Chidori. Simultaneously, both sides slammed their jutsu into the barrier walls, and shattered through them. Naruto's jutsu had then died down, leaving the blonde staggering and smoldering where he'd landed. Tayuya rushed toward him. Naruto. Naruto turned and grinned at her. Hey, there. Before he tumbled forward and hit the floor, no longer able to stand. He was caught, however, not by Tayuya. A hand reached out and gripped his hair, hoisting him up. Impressive, hissed the Sannin, albeit in a strained voice, very impressive. You destroyed my Rashuman gates. Naruto nearly passed out right there from the shock. Impossible. Improbable, Orochimaru grinned, holding a kunai to the boy's throat. Nothing, dear boy, is impossible. He looked over the boy's head. Now, Sasuke-kun, if you don't want your little friend's head to fall from his shoulders, you'll come out, right now. Sasuke did come out, Sakura still in his arms, glaring at the snake Sannin. You'll kill him even if I go with you, so what's stopping you? We are, Tayuya said, preparing her Yoton chakra. I'll be damned if I don't get my shot at this bastard. Kakashi stepped forward, his Sharingan uncovered. I won't let you take another student from me, Orochimaru, even if it costs me my life. As Rokudaime Hokage, I swear you will die here. All around the Sannin, all of them prepared their jutsu, and all he had was Naruto to block them, but that was enough. He knew quite well that they wouldn't dare attack the blonde to get to him. Suddenly, the air behind him shifted. You haven't changed, Orochimaru-san, a cold, smooth voice said. You're still a fool. Orochimaru turned and found a pair of red eyes staring back at him with a three-blade shuriken shape in them. Tsukuyomi. Suddenly, Naruto was dropped into the arms of Itachi Uchiha while Orochimaru screamed as the genjutsu showed him his greatest fears. It only lasted a second, yet to the Sannin, it lasted decades. Itachi shoeshined over to Kakashi, Naruto under his arm. Here, I think he's alright. What are you doing here? Kakashi questioned, his eyes narrowing. Itachi shook his head. In a moment, he said, looking back at the Sannin, right now, I believe we should focus on the task at. The ceiling above them crashed open, revealing Jiraiya, Sasami, Sara, and Neji leaping down, the foremost wielding the biggest Rasengan any of them had ever seen, Orochimaru. Orochimaru, still staggered by the genjutsu, looked up. Oh, Jiraiya-kun, was all he said as the Rasengan crashed down onto him. The walls behind him were utterly destroyed as the Rasengan bored into them with the Sannin in tow. Jiraiya landed, his feature looking decidedly toad-like, webbed feet and hands, as well as golden eyes with a single bar across them for a pupil. You will not harm another person, you snake, the man said, straightening up, and seeing the bloody remains of his former comrade strewn across the gigantic hole he'd made. Never again. X equals. This is disgusting, Ino whined, it smells like a. Asuma stopped her. We know, Ino-chan, just put up with it, he said as the three walked through the halls. This has to be the place, he said, taking in the cells. Choji moved over to one of the cells and peeked in. Hello? Who's there? A raspy voice asked. Asuma hurried forward. We're shinobi of Konoha, here to get you out. Konoha, finally. Another voice rasped. We are the Uzumaki clan of Uzushiogakure no Sato. Asuma started at this, Uzumaki, but I thought Kushina-sama was the last. Kushina, our last main house heir, an older voice rasped out to the left. She was the youngest of the main house, and sent to Konoha as a new Jinchuriki host for the Kyuubi with Mito-sama's passing near. Ino stepped forward and asked, Kushina? Wasn't that Naruto's mother? There was a murmur of activity at the blonde's words, and someone shuffled to the front of the cell they were standing at. If Kushina-sama had a child, then we are truly still a clan. Only a member of the main house can access our family's secrets. A man said, and the team gasped as he appeared before them. He was thin and frail, his skin clinging to his bones, and his hair was dull, nearly brown from lack of nutrition and sunlight. But his eyes held the truth. They were violet in color, and sharper than a kunai. Please, free us. And free the child at the end of the hall. He is one of our relatives. An Uchiha. Asuma nodded. We'll get you all out of here, and then we'll take you home. X equals. Naruto opened his eyes slowly, finding himself warm and comfortable. Staring down at him were a pair of warm brown eyes, and a small smile playing across the lips of a certain redhead. You shithead, you had me worried. Naruto chuckled weakly. Sorry about that, Sakura-chan? Ranchan's working on her now. She turned to the left where the boy was doing his best to keep his chakra going. His chakra shroud was in full bloom as he reversed and healed the damage done by Orochimaru. Sasuke, who was ignoring his brother for the moment, hovered over the pair nervously. The wound on her throat was closing, which he knew shouldn't be possible for a corpse, little as he knew about medical ninjutsu. Neji was nearby as well just in case Ranmaru need help, but thankfully Ranmaru's chakra reserves were now up to scratch for the advanced Jujutsu, and the chakra control displayed by the boy was even better than his own. Soon, color began to return to the girl's cheeks, and Sasuke could hear the faint beating of her heart. And then she began to breathe. Ranmaru let off as his work was done, and Sakura started waking up. Sasuke was by her side in an instant. Sakura? Sasuke-kun? Her eyes fluttered open, and saw him smiling, smirking, down at her. Sleep well? He asked. Sakura sat up slowly, holding her throat. I don't understand, I thought I. You did, Sasuke said, if only for a few minutes. We lost you. But how? Neji stepped forward. You may thank Ranmaru-kun for that, he said, smiling down at his apprentice. His incredible Jujutsu's healing abilities brought you back. Ranmaru, who was panting with the efforts, just smiled. And no thanks necessary, he grinned. Oni-san would have been sad if you'd stayed gone. Smiling, Sakura reached out and pulled the boy into a tight hug. Thank you, Ranmaru-kun. Meanwhile, Itachi, Kakashi, and Jiraiya were discussing what was to be done. You do realize what kind of position this puts me in, don't you? Kakashi asked. I can't exactly turn a blind eye to you, or your brother. Itachi nodded. I know that. But I'm asking for a little bit of faith. I realize what I've told you about that night seems far-fetched, but it is the truth. The rogue Uchiha said, "You know me, Kakashi-senpai, and you know that, unless I was forced to do so, I would never do something like that." Jiraiya nodded. "I knew that the Uchiha were planning a revolt, but I never thought it would go that far." He sighed, crossing his arms, "And this does sound like something Danzo would do. He's never been one to let things like that go." Kakashi sighed, "Regardless, I have to take the boy back, at least." "He'll be killed," Itachi argued, "or used for his eyes. What kind of life are you trying to take him back to? It may have been Orochimaru's doing, but the blame and punishment will still fall on Sasuke. So you want me to hand him over to you?" Kakashi asked. "For what purpose? Are you planning to get revenge on Danzon for tricking the Hokage into the massacre?" "No," Itachi shook his head, "my loyalties will always be with Konoha, but Sasuke needs to know the truth, and learn to let go of the hatred I forced onto him," he said, looking over at his younger brother, and smiling at the sight of him with the girl in his arms. "Some of it has already been taken from him with the help of your team, but I feel that if I told him the truth now, he would go after the council, and we all know that Danzo would slaughter him." Jiraiya sighed, and nudged the masked shinobi. "Go on. Let them go, at least this way we can look into this more." Jiraiya said, "I've got no love for Danzo, nor do I favor the Uchiha, no offense, Itachi." "None taken," he said. "But fact of the matter is, being killed is the best scenario," Jiraiya said, "the way things are right now, since Kekkei Genkai are getting harder and harder to find, especially Jujutsu, Sasuke and Itachi would more than likely be used for producing more Sharingan users. The only reason you haven't been cited for that is because your Sharingan is implanted, and there's what? A 25% chance it could be passed on? 20, Kakashi said with a sigh. "All right. You win, he goes with you, but have fun trying to convince." "Hey, Kakashi. You're not gonna believe what we've got down here." Asuma roared over the radio, nearly deafening the Kage. Kakashi groaned, and pressed the button. "What is it, now?" "Well, don't sound too excited," Asuma chuckled. "Those prisoners you told us about? They're Uzumaki. The Uchiha was just one of them. We've got 40 families down here." Kakashi and Jiraiya's eyes widened as they looked at each other. Kakashi gave his customary eye smile. "Well, it's a good thing Tsunade-sama was making the designs for the new Uzumaki compound quite large, because it looks like Naruto's family just got a little bit bigger, doesn't it?" "Hee, sure seems like it," Jiraiya chuckled. X equals. Chiriku waited at the top of the temple steps for the return of his friends and former student. It had been a full day since their departure. Only an hour ago he had heard a massive explosion only a few miles away, and he had feared the worst. His meditation had not helped to calm his mind as he waited, nor had he eaten, worried as he was. "Chiriku-sensei." Chiriku's head snapped up and saw the familiar grin of Sora at the bottom of the steps, along with Jiraiya and the other guests. And behind them, he saw many poor and starving people. Chiriku smiled. "May the blessings of Ashura be upon these people." X equals. The compound was in ruins. Not a single room had been spared the destruction, nor had a single curse mark experiment. But someone had survived. A certain silver-haired teen made his way through the ruins. As he came across his master's remains, a smile crept across his face as he picked up a piece of scaled flesh. X equals. "So, it would seem that Itachi-san has truly left us," the ripple-eyed leader said as Kisame presented Itachi's robes and ring. "Why did you not stop him, Kisame-san?" Kisame sighed. "Pain-sama, you know as well as I do that he could beat me easily. Even if I wanted to stop him, in the end, you would have 2 bodies to replace instead of 1, because, when he wants to be, Itachi is absolutely ruthless." "He has a point," the lone female of the group said. "Itachi could perhaps match even yourself, Pain-sama." "We would have had to replace him anyway," scoffed a man to the right, a large scythe over his shoulder. "He's fucking dying, right? He won't be a problem much longer." "Haiden, show some respect," Kakuzu said, then chuckled. "Think of all the fun we're going to have when we go after the bounty on his head. An international criminal worth 3 billion. Is money the only thing you think about, Kakuzu-senpai?" Tobi asked from his spot on the ground. "Anyway, does this mean Tobikuin gets to join now that Itachi-senpai is gone?" "Be quiet you little twerp," rasped the hunched-over figure of Sasori. "Once we've done some recruiting, if we haven't found anyone worthwhile, then you can join." "Ah, but Tobi's been a good boy." "Shut up. Regardless of why he left, or how long he will be a threat," Pain said, "we need a new member." There was one other from Konoha. Someone skilled in the gathering of Kekkei Genkai, Hirako I believe his name was. "I know him," Sasori rasped. "He and I showed interest in the same body once, but I ended up with it to create one of my greatest masterpieces." Sasori chuckled. "He's a little eccentric, but I think he'd go for what we're doing. seeing as 2 of the Jinchuriki we're after hold a Kekkei Genkai each. Then the job of reaching out to him is yours, and Deidara's, Pain said. Do we know of anyone that might join our cause other than him? Haiden laughed. I know a few. One of them was a doc that Orochimaru got a few good jutsu from. Goes by Shino these days, but from what I hear, he's looking for something called the Rabi. Zero Tails? Pain raised his brow. I didn't know such a thing existed. Neither did I, Conan said. Do you know anyone else? Haiden nodded. Some nutjob named Yomi. He's trying to revive Morio, if you can believe that. That could be useful, Kakuzu said. He's also a skilled medical shinobi. Pain nodded. Good, see if you can convince either one of them to join our cause. Chapter 28. So, Jiraiya grinned. What do you think of him, Kakashi? Not half bad, huh? He questioned the Kage. Once he reaches Tetsu, nothing's gonna be able to stop him. The man brayed with laughter as he filled up his sake dish. Kakashi, his mask down for once, just sighed as the bottle was passed to him so he could refill. Don't get ahead of yourself, Jiraiya-sama, he's still got a long way to go before making Hokage. He said, taking a drink. Plus, we have the Akatsuki to worry about still. Itachi-kun did inform us of their numbers, and most of their abilities, except for the ones he doesn't know about, and I have to say that it's worrying. Asuma hummed in thought as he took a drink from his own dish. I agree. Those zombie brothers in particular worry me. If what Itachi says is true, then those 2 could be the worst out of the bunch. Jiraiya nodded. Or Akasuna no Sasori. That man was known for making humans into puppets. He shivered. From what Itachi tells me, it was him and an Iwa Nin that was supposed to go after Gaara and his Ichibi in the next couple of years. Speaking of the Akatsuki, Kakashi said, what do you plan to do if you meet up with them? Surely Naruto's not ready for something like that? Jiraiya shrugged and tossed back his sake. In all honesty, I think he is ready. He said, smiling. He's much like his mother. Kind, and gentle on the outside and on the inside, but watch out if you make him mad. He's become proficient with his clan's Fuin no Jutsu, to a great extent. He's starting to surpass me already. You're a level 10 sealing master. Asuma raised an eyebrow at him. What would you say Naruto-kun is? Oh, he's level 9, easily, and soon to be level 10, Jiraiya grinned proudly, shocking the 2 veteran shinobi. It's part of the reason his chakra control's so good now because of those restriction seals. It allows him to focus his chakra better without using so much of it. Asuma nodded, smiling. What about the others? He asked. That little boy that clings to Neji is quite something. I've never seen eyes like his. I agree, Kakashi nodded, looking at the Gamma Sannin. If that's the same boy from your reports, then he's done some growing. I thought you said he was only 4 years old? He looks around Hanabi's age. Jiraiya sighed. That is an unfortunate byproduct of his jujitsu advancing before his body was ready for it. Jiraiya explained. Ranmaru's jujitsu, the Byakugan at first, developed while we were fighting what could be called a small war back in Kawa no Kuni, right around the time Tsunadeheim named you Rokudame, Kakashi. He'd been rescued from a tyrant that was using him for his eyes, and took a shine to Taiyuya-chan. While the battle was going on, his Byakugan fully awakened, and it was stronger than most of the Hyuga clan put together, judging by what Neji-kun said. But the whole thing that really put the kid into overdrive was seeing Taiyuya-chan get taken down right in front of him by the same man that raised him. Taken down? Asuma queried, then nodded. Ah, that must mean he healed her the same way he healed Sakura-chan? Jiraiya nodded. That's right, the Sannin said, nodding still, but when the Tenseigan activated, he unconsciously tapped into an advanced healing power to save Taiyuya-chan's life, but he didn't have enough chakra to use it, so the technique leached off of his own life force, and forced his body to grow to the age of that of a 9-year-old child. So it shortened his life, Kakashi said, touching part of his Hitai where his Sharingan was. I suppose I know how that feels, but to actually have his eyes take 5 years of his life away. Is there any chance of it happening again? Asuma asked. Jiraiya shrugged. While I'm no expert in jujitsu, I'd say that as long as he doesn't exhaust his natural chakra flow, he shouldn't have to worry about hurting himself from using it. Kakashi smiled. That's a relief. I've grown quite fond of that boy. Maybe once he returns to the village, I can take him on as another apprentice. Jiraiya scoffed. You'd have to get past his Onii-san and Wani-san for that. He laughed heartily. Seriously, when it comes to Ranmaru-chan, Naruto and Taiyuya are as protective as parents around him. You should have seen Naruto going nuts on those Kumo shinobi that took him a few months ago. And don't even get me started on Taiyuya. Ah. If she had her way, I'm betting she'd adopt the Gaki without hesitation. Again, Kakashi smiled. Well, then their family's about to get just a bit bigger than it already is. Jiraiya and Asuma looked to him in question. Oh, you haven't heard from Niji? Hayashi heard about Ranmaru-chan, and decided to introduce him to Hanabi-chan when he comes to the village since Jiraiya-sama asked for a Kurasuki clan compound to be built right alongside the Uzumaki clan. Jiraiya couldn't hold back the laughter that erupted from him. Naruto and Tayuya were not going to be happy about this at all. Naruto and Tayuya . Damn it, that stings. Naruto complained as Tayuya applied Jiraiya's toad oil to his damaged arm. I thought this stuff was supposed to stop pain. He groaned, trying his best to keep from squirming, even though Tayuya was obviously trying to be as gentle as possible with her boyfriend. Tayuya just giggled at him. Just try to put up with it a little longer, she told him, giving him a peck on the cheek. Aji-san says it won't be much longer until your natural healing abilities kick in, and then you'll be good as new, she said, and started wrapping bandages around his forearm and part of his chest. Thanks to the use of the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto's body was burned in various places, mostly around his arm and shoulder, where Orochimaru had cut him. His arm was the worst of it, though. It was badly burned, even though the chakra had forced it to grow back, and Sakura had mentioned that there was some nerve damage to his hand. Naruto sighed and lay back on the bedding. Yeah, I know, he grumbled as Tayuya covered him with the comforter. I just hate sitting still for so long. It's been 3 days, Tayuya smiled at him, and you used a shit ton of chakra. In all honesty, you shouldn't even be able to move, let alone complain. Naruto snorted, not like I did a lot of good. He sighed, looking up at the ceiling. In the end, my most powerful attack wasn't even strong enough to kill that bastard, and for once, I was actually trying to kill. Tayuya giggled and stretched out beside him, laying her head on his shoulder. Don't forget that Sasuke couldn't do anything even with that fancy new eye of his, she reminded him as she snuggled closer, but you've got no idea how good it felt seeing Aji-san nail that bastard. She grinned, I'd never felt so relieved in my entire life. Yeah, Naruto sighed, rolling on his side, and using his good arm to wrap around her, and now, I have a clan again, and Sasuke has his brother back, or sorta. He chuckled as Tayuya giggled at that. Are they still not talking? Tayuya rolled her eyes. That depends, she sighed, they're still trying to figure this whole thing out with Saiga. Apparently, Itachi knew him for a short time, but it was reported to the Uchiha clan that he died shortly after birth, which is why Itachi was so protective of Sasuke for the time he was in the village. Tayuya explained, sighing contentedly as he stroked her hair. The dumbass still won't listen to Itachi, though. Stubborn jackass, Naruto sighed, and felt her laughter. So? What about my clan? How are they doing? Tayuya kept laughing. Chiriku-san's giving out his best silver service for them. He said it was an honor to host the Uzumaki after they'd been gone for so damned long. Her laughter was infectious, and Naruto found himself chuckling right along with her. She looked up at him. That Cyclops says that the clan compound they're having built for you will be more than big enough to house all of the families held by Orochimaru. She gave him a cheeky grin. They must have thought whoever you married would be popping out brats like a spigot. Naruto shivered. Ugh, breeding material again. You know, when I become Hokage, I'm gonna make sure that stops. He sighed. We've had so much trouble with just our little group because of that. You're talking about this whole thing with Ranmaru and Kumo, right? Tayuya asked with a blink of her eyes. I guess I know what you mean. Almost all the villages are nuts about people with bloodline limits, even Kiri, now that the civil war's over. I heard tale that the new Mizukage has 2 elemental limits. Naruto nodded. Yeah, but that's not the only problem we've got. Naruto sighed, rolling onto his back again with her nestled against his chest. She looked at him in question, and he shook his head. I checked the bingo books. Iwa's got a bounty on my head now. What? Tayuya sat up, staring down at him. When did this happen? Naruto shrugged. It's the latest issue, so I'd say about a week ago. He said, sighing heavily, it's gonna make traveling pretty difficult for us since most of the countries we'll be passing through are bordered by IWA. We're going back to Konoha, Tayuya reminded him. Couldn't we finish your training there? He shook his head. No, Pervy Sage said that it was important for me to go to Tetsu no Kuni, so that's where we'll go. He looked down at her. You know, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to stay in the village. I mean, even after just 1 year, so much crazy stuff has happened, and… No fucking way. Tayuya shouted loudly, there's no fucking way I'm letting you anywhere near those rockheads. I'm from IWA, remember? Those bastards carry a grudge. I'm not my dad, Naruto said, smiling up at her, and reaching out to cup her cheek, but I know how to take care of myself. Tayuya blushed at the contact, but leaned into his touch. Naruto, you don't get it. IWA has its own brand of Hunter Nin. I've never seen them in action myself, but I know from what Orochimaru's told me that each of them has a unique Doton Kekkai Genkai. I know because Kabuto used to brag about one of them he actually managed to get a hold of. Naruto looked at her curiously, and? What was it? Tayuya sighed and returned to lying beside him while he stroked her hair. It was called Naton, she mumbled, before Kimimaro brought the guy in, and he was able to turn his entire body into a diamond. Even Kimimaro said that it was a difficult kill. Naruto sighed, damn. What would I have to do to actually be able to do that? Naruto wondered aloud. Tayuya shrugged against his shoulder, it's purely earth-based, so I'd say you'd need to make your Doton so powerful that you actually be able to harden your body into that material. Diamond was just one of three, though, the other was Shoten, and Keton, Crystal and Steel. I've never seen the Keton users, but Orochimaru had one Shoten user in his ranks, and she's deadly, almost as deadly as Kimimaro was when he was going all out with his bone weapons. She looked up at his face. How are you gonna contend with that if you come up against one of those Kekkai Genkai? She asked worriedly. Naruto just gave her his trademark grin. I'll think of something. He rolled over and claimed her lips with his own before she could respond, ending any further argument. After a few moments, the pair had to breathe, and broke apart, both panting. Tayuya's cheeks were as red as her hair at the moment, but the smile on her face was positively beaming. Is that your way of distracting me? Naruto shrugged, and smiled. Did it work? In answer, Tayuya pulled him toward her again, and continued where they left off. Only this time it was a little different. Her hands went straight into his hair, holding him tightly in place as her lips moved over his. She threw her leg over his hips, and brought him closer to her, making Naruto groan as he shivered at the contact. His hand was not idle, though. While hers were tangled in his hair, his good arm went for her kimono top, and slid underneath it to touch the bare skin of her back. Tayuya's skin was particularly sensitive at her lower back, and he knew it. The girl gasped, pulling back for a moment as Naruto's hand brushed her skin lightly. Naruto took the chance and trailed his lips down her neck, making her shiver when she felt his sharp teeth against her skin. Naruto. Tayuya moaned, drawing an almost animalistic growl from him as his tongue darted out to taste her skin. She giggled at the ticklish feeling it brought and retaliated by raking her nails gently across his back. He hissed as her nails tickled him, giving her a chance at his lips again as her robes fell open. Her sports bra suddenly began to feel tight, making her want to remove it. But when she reached for it, she found his hands there, stopping her. She looked up at him in question, her blush prominent across her nose and cheeks. Why not? She asked a little frustrated. Naruto sighed. Well, for one, Ino-chan's probably outside the door, he said, loudly, and heard a muffled curse as well as the scampering of feet a moment later. Tayuya rolled her eyes. 2. It's a little too soon for this, don't you think? Nope, Tayuya smirked, batting her eyes seductively. What? You gonna make me wait until the wedding night? Naruto blushed, but grinned all the same. Waiting won't kill us, he said, smiling at her sheepishly. Besides, I don't have any preventives. Tayuya groaned, having forgotten that. Yeah, and I don't have any morning after pills, sorry. Equals the Three Stooges plus 1 equals. Will you stop sulking for a minute and listen to me? Itachi snapped irritably as Sasuke continued to ignore him. It's not like I'm doing this to be cruel. Sasuke, who was tied up and dangling from a tree branch, kept his eyes closed so his brother wouldn't put the proverbial whammy on him again. The last time you did that to me, I watched you murder our entire clan, over and over again. Sasuke sneered. Why would I let you do it to me again? Saiga, who was sitting off to the side on a fallen log, chuckled at the pair. So these are my brothers? He said loudly. You certainly fight like siblings. Sasuke-kun, just give it up already. You know he won't untie you until he hits you with that Tsukuyomi of his. Not gonna happen, Sasuke snapped. And why are you on his side? I'm the victim here. Pfft, Saiga chuckled. I was locked up for a good deal of my life, and you call yourself the victim? Ha! This caused the other two brothers to look down in shame. Oh oi, you know I didn't mean it like that. Saiga stammered, and then looked at the youngest of the group. Look, Sasuke-kun, I don't know, nor do I care about what Itachi and I did in the past, and he showed me, too. And he had damned good reasoning for a loyal member of a village. You've got no idea how much pain it put him through to have you looking at him with such hate in your eyes. Sasuke twirled himself around, so he was facing away from his brothers. I never said I didn't believe him. He grumbled, causing both of them to look at his back in question. I just don't want to get put under that genjutsu again, it feels wrong. Itachi sighed, rolling his eyes. You always were such a baby, he said, and cut the ropes with a flick of his wrist, sending Sasuke crashing to the ground flat on his back. Hey! Sasuke growled indignantly, only to be met by his brother's gaze under the Manjikyu Sharingan. No fair. Only a few moments later found the youngest Uchiha heir vomiting in the bushes from the effects of the genjutsu. Takes a little while to get over it, Itachi commented, much to his brother's ire. So, what do you say, Sasuke-kun? Will you come with me? Sasuke looked up at him, wiping his mouth. What choice do I really have? He asked. Naruto was right when he said I'd have to do something big to be let back into the village without Kakashi pardoning me right off the bat. And even I know that something like that wouldn't go over well with the shinobi populations. Saiga scoffed. Think that's bad? When I get to the village, I'm betting that I'm gonna be running for the sake of my chastity. He sighed. Geez, normally any guy would want something like that, but the last thing I want is a conga line of crazed women lining up to screw me. You two are lucky you won't be back for a while. Itachi chuckled. Speaking of girls, he said, looking at Sasuke, have you spoken to the girl that helped you? Sakura? Sasuke groaned. I don't think that's the best idea right now. Why not? Saiga questioned. She saved you from getting that mark placed on you again, didn't she? And she gave her life for you, allowing you to unlock your Manjikyu Sharingan. He sat back with a smile on his face. Girls certainly got guts to do something like that. It's lucky that little Byakugan user was able to save her, else you wouldn't be so happy right now. Itachi crossed his arms as Sasuke picked himself up from the ground, pouting. He's right, Sasuke-kun, you should at least give her your thanks. Sasuke blushed slightly. It's not my thanks she wants. That much is obvious, Itachi sighed, reaching out to mess the boy's hair, and it's also blaringly obvious that you have at least some feelings for her, considering that your eyes reacted to her in such a way. Leave me alone. Sasuke growled, brushing off his brother's arm. She's not important. Liar, Saiga and Itachi said at once. Sasuke was about to stomp off when Itachi grabbed the back of his shirt. What gives? Go talk to her, Itachi smirked. Now. No, Sasuke snapped, tugging at his shirt. Let go. Sasuke, Itachi said in a false tone, and a moment later the face of Susanoo appeared out of nowhere behind him. Go. I don't know where she is? Sasuke sweated, slightly frightened of his brother at the moment. Itachi gave him a shove toward the forest. She's picking herbs 300 yards straight ahead. Itachi said, smiling, be sure to say thank you at least. Sasuke stuck his hands in his pockets, grumbling jerk under his breath. Meanwhile, Sakura, unaware that she was even near the Uchiha brothers, was humming a soft tune while she was gathering herbs for potions and ointments. While Jiraiya had summoned the toad to bring the oil for Naruto's damaged arm, she had taken the time to ask for some pointers since the toad seemed to know a great deal more about medicine than most humans did. While Shima, a little toad woman with purple hair, had told the Rosette that she couldn't give her their secrets, she did point out a few herbs that could be mixed with oil, and worm salts to improve their effectiveness, and take away the sting. Sakura shivered as she picked up an herb that she knew, even after it was cooked down into the potion used for ointments, stung like a hornet. Perhaps she could work on that particular one first? Planning on poisoning the dobe? Sakura giggled. Now how did I know that would be the first thing that came to your mind? She asked as she turned toward her visitor. Hello, Sasuke-kun. Hey, he knelt beside her. You doing all right? Sakura nodded, smiling, fit as a fiddle. Ranmaru-kun really saved me, huh? She said, flexing her arms. She looked up at him, placing her basket in her lap. What about you? What about me? Sasuke shrugged. I was barely injured. Sakura gave him a look that said otherwise. Naruto-kun beat you up pretty badly, Sasuke-kun. She pointed to his left eye. You've still got a shiner. She giggled when the normally stoic Uchiha blushed and turned away to hide the blemish. Oh, don't worry, it makes you look cute, sort of like a little tanuki. She laughed again as Sasuke glared at her, his face becoming more and more flustered. Since when had Sakura learned to tease him so well, he wondered. Normally only Itachi could do that, or Naruto if he was feeling his oats, but Sakura? Not a chance. For someone that was dead 3 days ago, you sure are annoying, Sasuke grumbled, then felt his stomach drop. That's right, he thought, she did die for me, Sakura? Sakura said as she'd gone back to picking herbs. What is it? Well, you see, what are you picking? Sasuke stammered, feeling more embarrassed than before, having chickened out. Sakura was none the wiser, however, and cheerfully held up a spiny-looking plant. These are a few herbs that Shima-san of the Toad said were good mixes for pain and fever reduction. She chattered before holding up another plant, this one looking like a maple leaf, except it had small spines on the underside. This is good for infections, and also makes a good tea to help you sleep if mixed with the right herbs. Sasuke had a small smirk on his face. You've learned a lot. He said, plucking a small white flower from the ground. does this do anything? Sakura giggled, that's an ingredient for moon tea. She laughed, pointing at the little flower, much to Sasuke's confusion. Moon tea? Sasuke asked, looking at the flower. Sakura smirked, for the morning after. Morning after? Sasuke repeated, then something clicked and the boy blushed, oh. Sakura nearly doubled over in laughter. Sasuke, don't tell me you've never heard of it. She laughed, even Orochimaru must have taught you something like that? Sasuke shivered, actually, I don't think I'd want to learn about sex from somebody like him, or Kabuto for that matter. I see your point, Sakura agreed, and then gave a mock look of shock. Sasuke-kun, you didn't let them. Sasuke turned beet red, of course not. I like girls, damn it. He roared, and then heard her muffled laughter, looking down to see her hunched over and covering her mouth. Okay, that wasn't funny. Sakura was biting her lip to keep herself in control. Yes, it was. She giggled, you should see your face. Sasuke growled and advanced on her while Sakura gave a yelp and leapt to her feet. Catch me if you can. Get back here. Sasuke roared in anger, and charged after her. It was a quick game. Sasuke was much faster than she was, and tackled her to the ground, rolling them down a hill a good ways before he landed on top of her, grinning in victory before he noticed their position. Sakura was looking up at him with a look that made blush. Sasuke, back in the village, why didn't you kill me? Sasuke cocked his head, kill you? Sakura nodded, you could have gotten your Manjikyu Sharingan right there if you had, so why? She asked, looking into his eyes, reaching up to cup his face, was I not important enough? No, that's not it, Sasuke said, I never intended to kill, I didn't want to kill you. What about Naruto-kun? Sakura asked, you nearly killed him. Sasuke sat back, pulling her with him, yeah, I thought I could do it, but in the end I just couldn't. Sasuke sighed, if I'd stayed any longer with Orochimaru, I probably wouldn't have hesitated to kill both of you, but... Sakura blinked as Sasuke looked away from her, but... You and Naruto are important to me, he said, nearly too quiet for her to hear. In the end, I was just too weak to fight my brother, too weak to take that one step he actually took, and then you just jumped in front of me, and I just lost it. After all I did, you still risked your life for me. Why? He asked, still refusing to look at her. She smiled then and cupped his face in her hands. You idiot, she mumbled after a moment, making him look up at her, I've told you time and again. Her face was just mere inches from his, it's because I love you. Equals Konoha, 1 week later, equals. Tsunade Senju, Godame Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, was not known for her patience. No indeed, as she read over the reports given to her by Kakashi, Asuma, and Jiraiya, as the acting Jonin of the mission, said Jonin standing directly in front of her at the moment, she was debating whether or not to just send all 3 of them flying through the wall. Why, one might ask? The simple fact of the matter was, with the addition of 40 families of a lost clan, plus 1 Uchiha was bad enough to give her mountains of paperwork on her desk in the next 24 hours, but the fact that she was also looking at 3 new shinobi hopefuls was an even bigger headache. Sara, Ranmaru, and Sasami stood before the buxom woman, rather intimidated by her glare. Naruto and Tayuya stood slightly behind them, on either side of Ranmaru in case something happened. So, let me get this straight, Tsunade growled with a twitch of her brow, you not only attacked one of Orochimaru's bases, but you also ran into him. That's right, Jiraiya said straight-faced. You, she glared at the lone blonde in the room, also managed to remove Sasuke's curse mark, but, after encountering Itachi Uchiha, you let him leave with him, an SS-ranked criminal? Bingo, Bachan, Naruto grinned, scratching the back of his head. More twitching. Jiraiya, Naruto, come here. She motioned for them to step forward. Both males gulped, but stepped forward for their punishment. Shursho, it wasn't their fault. Sakura stepped in, I asked Naruto to let him go. I didn't want to see Sasuke-kun locked up. Tsunade turned her glare to her apprentice, never lie to me, Sakura. She snapped, silencing the girl, and returned her attention to the 2 men, and you, too, what gave you the right to let him go? Various reasons that were my decisions, Naruto stepped up, I chose to let him leave, because he would have most likely been executed, or used in restoring his clan against his will. Tsunade groaned, I wouldn't have allowed that, and you know it, Gaki. She sighed, palming her face, you realize I could demote you for this? Then I will accept that punishment, Naruto nodded, but I have no intentions of letting any of my friends be forced into something like that. Not a chance. Tsunade was about to protest but was cut off by Jiraiya. He's right, the man said, if I'd had the same chance, I would have done the same with Orochimaru if he could have been saved. And it would be a waste of skill for Naruto to be demoted back to genin, Kakashi put in. If you'd been there, then you would have been impressed beyond belief. He fought tooth and nail against Orochimaru, and even managed to injure him to an extent, which gave Jiraiya-sama the chance to finish him off in the end. Tsunade groaned, her face in her hands. You don't realize how much of a headache this is going to be, she sighed, then sat back. All right, I won't demote you. Either of you, she said, looking pointedly at Jiraiya, but this won't go over well with the elders, especially not Danzo. About that, Kakashi said, producing a scroll from his vest. It seems that Shimura-san has been up to no good. He set it down on the desk, nodding to the current Hokage. Tsunade picked it up, studying it before looking at her gathered shinobi. Nijikuin, as promised, you're promoted to Chunin for an outstanding job in training Ranmaru Kurasuki. Niji bowed, blushing slightly. Naruto, in light of your foolishness, I'm bumping you up to Tokubetsu Jonin. Wahoo! Quiet! Tsunade roared, then glanced at the others. Tayuya, you're being promoted to Chunin for your part in finding Orochimaru, aiding and protecting Naruto, and his idiot sensei. Ouch, Kakashi muttered. That's not fair, Jiraiya said. I said quiet. Tsunade snapped at the pair, and you're both idiots for letting him talk you into letting Sasuke go. She said, and turned to Ranmaru, Sara, and Sasami. You three, I can offer a place as genin, and you may begin training as soon as I find a jonin instructor. No way, Sara said, crossing his arms. I'm staying with Naruto and II. He jerked his thumb at the blonde in question. I'm the way I am because of him, and if it weren't for him, then I'd still be going on rampages. Rampages? Tsunade asked. Sarakuin has a bijou locked inside of him, Jiraiya said, shocking Godame, and present company, excluding Naruto's team. We don't know how, but he ended up have some of the fox's chakra locked inside him. Both yin and yang. Naruto managed to extract the yin from him, and seal off the yang, creating a separate Kyuubi. Tsunade stared wide-eyed at the boy, looking back between him and the blonde Jinchuriki. You mean to tell me that? There's two of them now, Jiraiya grinned, right along with Naruto and Sora, which is why it's better for them to stick together. They can watch each other's backs. Also, you should let Sasami and Ranmaru stay with him as well. They all work well together. Strange as it is, I think that Naruto, as a jonin, could easily lead them as the first five-bodied team. You're not making this very easy for me, Tsunade said, smiling. All right, it'll be done. From this point, Naruto Uzumaki, Tokubetsu Jonin of Konohagakure no Sato, is leader of newly christened Team 11. Naruto laughed loudly as Tayuya, Sora, Ranmaru and Sasami grabbed the blonde in a massive pile-up. Also, since you're now a jonin, you're entitled to your inheritance from your mother and father. And, I know he never got anything in canon, but come on. My parents left me something? Naruto asked from the floor. Quite a bit. Tsunade leaned over the desk to speak to him. You have a small plot of land outside the village, which has been kept up by Hiruzen's men, and a small fortune thanks to Minato and Kushina's time as active shinobi. Really? Naruto popped up, throwing the others off. Can I go see it? Jiraiya placed a hand on his shoulder, chuckling. I'll take you and Tayuya-chan over there in a few. Meantime, why don't the rest of you explore the village? He said, looking at the other young shinobi, and handed out a few scrolls to each of them. That should be enough to tide you over until I come find you to bring you to the house later, so go out and enjoy yourselves. Man, this place is huge, Sara beamed as he and Sasami walked the streets of Konoha with Ranmaru in tow. I've never actually been in a hidden village before. Sasami giggled while holding Ranmaru's hand. It's certainly bigger than my old home, she said, looking around from various shops and eateries. I wonder where we should go. Ranmaru tugged at her hand. Can we get some ice cream? Sara grinned down at him. Sure thing, buddy. He ruffled the boy's hair. Naruto's gonna be pissed that he missed spoiling you a bit. Sasami looked around the village once more. Nah, Sora-kun, when we came in earlier, I noticed a lot of people glaring at Naruto-kun. Do you know what that was about? Sara sighed, gaining a sad look upon his normally smiling face. Korin-san says that all of those with bijou inside them are feared and hated. The village probably knows what he is, and don't like him because of it. Sasami gaped at him, but that's not fair. She yelped, that's like calling a scroll a kunai after sealing one inside. Sara shrugged, it was the same for me for a long time before Naruto and II helped me out. All the monks were afraid of me because sometimes I'd just lose control, and run wild. Ranmaru looked up at him. Is that how come Naruto Nizan got mad at the monks that one day? When he snapped at them? Sara asked, smiling. Yeah, that's right. Then how come he doesn't do the same here? The boy asked, couldn't he make people see he's good? Sasami patted him on the head, he's trying. But some people take a long time to change. Especially if they're afraid. Ranmaru looked down sadly, but Oni-san's really nice. Sara sighed, then put a huge grin on his face before swooping down and scooping the younger boy up onto his shoulders. Ah, enough with the pouty faces, we promised you ice cream and ice cream you're gonna get. He crowed and ran down the street, Ranmaru laughing on his shoulders, with Sasami close behind them. Jiraiya, Naruto and Tayuya equals. The house was not a large one, but to Naruto it was amazingly large. The front room was large and homey, with a merry little fireplace made of cobblestone with a couch sitting in front of it. The kitchen was simple, not large nor small, but had everything he needed, hot water included, and the cabinets were packed full of different scrolls marked with the foods they held. Naruto marveled at every piece of furniture, all of which he had never had before. But what really got him was the bedrooms. One, of course, was the master, in which he figured his parents had slept. The other one was a nursery. Painted baby blue with small orange suns dotting the walls. Jiraiya patted him on the shoulder as he took it all in. See, Gaki, I told you they wanted you. He smiled as Naruto choked back a few tears when he lifted up a picture of his parents, Kushina around with child, both of them smiling. Tayuya was looking around as well, smiling all the while. So, what's this mean for him? Tsunade said something about him being the Uzumaki clan head after he gets back. That's something he'll have to deal with when we return, Jiraiya smiled, moving them into the living room. But, since I'd like you all to stay here and rest for a little bit, even if it's been less than a year, I figure that you're all ready to strike out on your own. Jiraiya said, taking a seat on the couch. Naruto and Tayuya gave him a strange look. Pervy sage. What the fuck's that supposed to mean? Tayuya asked, a little afraid. Jiraiya sighed, it means that when you leave for the land of iron, I won't be with you. I'll be ahead of you. Waiting, he looked at the blonde. Naruto, this will be the last thing I teach you. Once you reach those mountains, you'll have to find me, and where I'll be is with the toads. It's something I've been planning to teach you from the very beginning. What are you talking about? Naruto started to growl, where are you going? Mount Myaboku, Jiraiya smiled, there, you will begin your training as a Sannin of the Gamma. Tayuya stepped forward, you expect us to trek across hundreds of miles of mountains and ice just to find the toads? She asked, and you won't even be there? You don't need me anymore, Tayuya-chan, he smiled, but Naruto-kun does, and I'm going to be counting on you to look after him from me. He grinned as the girl gave scowling blush, can you do that for me? Who else? Tayuya mumbled, looking at the aging man, but, Gigi. Jiraiya held up a hand, Tayuya-chan, you and Naruto-kun have made me more proud than I've been of any students in a long time. You remind me so much of Kushina and Minato that's frightening at times, but in a way, you both have strayed from them. Naruto, you've become much more powerful than even your father, and your kenjutsu is almost on par with your mother. He said, making the blonde blush while scratching the back of his head. Tayuya jumped when he turned to her, and I've come to view you as my own granddaughter. I couldn't be happier from being there to watch you blossom into a beautiful kunoichi worthy of a daimyo. The girl blushed, gazing down at the floor in embarrassment. Both of you have created jutsu so amazing that it was thought to be impossible, yet here you are, teaching it to each other, and the rest of your team. So, in this, I believe you are more than ready to go alone, as long as you have each other, and your team. So this is where I leave you, Jiraiya smiled, reaching into his hayari, and pulling out a hitayate with 2 metal horns, not unlike his own, save for the fact that both of them were intact, with the kanji for oil carved into the metal. Naruto-kun, I hope you'll accept this. As my apprentice, you're entitled to many things, the headband being one of them. Naruto hesitantly reached up from his own and loosened it. Iruka-sensei gave this to me. I won't ask you to get rid of it, Jiraiya shook his head, keep it, and pass it on to your son, or daughter someday. I just hope I'm around to see it. You will be, Tayuya said, suddenly, blushing harder than before when she realized what she'd said, I mean, you're too fucking stubborn to die, yet. Jiraiya gave her a smile, I know I am. But, still, I hope I'm still around by then. He held the headband out to the blonde, who gingerly accepted it, placing it on his head. It looks good on you, you look a lot like your old man, now, you know? Naruto tightened the woven band around his head. Thanks, sensei. He said, smiling brightly, when do you leave? Jiraiya grinned cheekily, I'm already gone. With that, he vanished in a puff of smoke. Chapter 29. This is unacceptable, Danzo scowled as he peered out the window of the Hokage's tower, his eye darting here and there as the remnants of Naruto's team went through the village. His lone eye landed on the youngest of the group, surrounded by the other 2 members, a girl from the Fuma clan, if he wasn't mistaken, and one of the monks from the Fire Temple. Giving the village's weapon so much freedom is utter folly, the man continued, tapping his cane agitatedly. I will have to do something about this. He turned about, shadowed by his 2 guards, Fu, Toryun. Make it known that my new council is to meet in the morning, and make sure to involve the shinobi clans as well. Wordlessly, the 2 were gone in an instant, replaced by a younger, pale boy in the shadows. Sai, make sure that the Hokage doesn't know. Hi, the boy was gone, finally leaving the veteran shinobi alone. The Yami no shinobi hummed in thought, if all plays out, then perhaps I will be able to convince that fool boy to join Root, and if not then perhaps it is time to find a new Jinchuriki. The message about the meeting went out faster than Danzo could have asked for. One clan in particular was interested in the new Team 11. One Hayashi Hyuga was eager to meet with one of the members of that team. Hinata, Hanabi, Hayashi called out to his daughters who were sparring in the courtyard, there's to be a council meeting. I would like you both with me to see what they are like. The girls perked up at this and looked at their father in question. One of you will most definitely take the mantle of clan head one day. It is vital that you see what council meetings are like. Across the village, Naruto was taking a stroll with one of his clansmen through the new compound. It was coming along nicely, though most of the buildings were finished. None of them had electricity or running water yet, but that was soon to be a forgotten problem, Naruto saw, as there were workers running lines throughout each home. I'm glad Bachan was able to get everything set up so quickly, Naruto commented, looking up at the, now healthier, Uzumaki representative. How is everyone adjusting, Akira-san? Akira was a typical Uzumaki male, typical to those that knew the clan, of course, with his crimson hair and violet eyes, and, even though he was skinny from lack of nourishment, he was strong, and had the wellspring chakra they were known for. We're all adjusting quite well, Naruto-san. It's been so long since any of us had a proper house to call our own that many are still in disbelief that your Hokage would do such a thing for us. Naruto chuckled. Well, she is a Senju, and part Uzumaki on her grandmother's side, so she's family, and family look out for each other, Naruto went on at length, but what I want to know is if you're sure about me being the clan head. Aren't you a little skeptical about me? I'm only a half Uzumaki, after all. Akira chuckled. My dear boy, there's no such thing as an Uzumaki half-blood. He said, much to Naruto's confusion, we Uzumaki may all have the same lineage, but the gene pool would stagnate if we kept it within the clan as the Hyuga and the Uchiha do, or did, in the Uchiha's case. No, the main house of the clan did marry inside the clan, but the chosen spouse was from the branch families that married outside the clan. You see, it is our vast chakra networks and talent with few and no jutsu that makes an Uzumaki an Uzumaki. Even we of the lower branches had great prowess the clan sealing techniques. And for a clan head to be chosen, they must successfully perform one of the void seals, which you have done, on both seals. Which could only mean that you gained access to the Uzumaki sealing scroll's secondary level, meeting with the Shodai Uzukage inside your own mind for him to personally imprinting the clan's greatest and most powerful seals into your mind and body. Naruto groaned at the memory of that event. Yeah, that wasn't a good experience. He said, rubbing his temples, so, since I've got the chakra, that makes me a full-blooded Uzumaki? Akira nodded, it does. Hair color aside, I can sense your strong ties to the family. When you return, I know that you will be a fine clan head. Until then, if you would permit it, I would like to help our people get back on our feet. Naruto grinned, that's a great idea. Asuma-sensei said that you were the speaker for the clan when he found you. Before Akira could speak again, Tayuya came running up with what appeared to be an umbu on her tail. Oi, Naruto. We've got trouble. Trouble? Naruto asked when they reached him. Why? What happened? You are ordered by Councilman Shimura Danzo-sama to appear before the elders, shinobi clan heads, and merchant council, the umbu said in a drone. Your other teammates have already been informed and are on their way. I am to escort you, the girl, and one member of the Uzumaki clan to represent your clan. I will go, Akira said, growling at the umbu. I don't see why you are to be brought before such a meeting, though. What has been done? I am not at liberty to say, the umbu said. Naruto grimaced, feeling something was off, and, reaching into his robes, pulled out a scroll and handed it to Akira. This is to be the Uzumaki clan secret. Do not let anyone outside the clan other than my team, or the Hokage see it. Akira raised his brow a moment, but took the scroll nonetheless and hid it inside his own robes. Council chambers. Team 11 stood at full attention, surrounded by the Shinobi Council, and the larger Merchants' Council as they were. The only reason any of them were nervous was the cold feeling they were getting from the Shimura clan head, who was sitting where the Hokage was to be seated. Many of the clan heads had brought their heirs with them, as each of them was becoming of age soon, and would begin to learn the inner workings of the clans. The only one not present was Kiba, Tsum having not brought the young Inuzuka because of his boisterous attitude. Are you aware why you have been called into this meeting, Uzumaki Naruto? Danzo asked sharply. I am not, Naruto said stiffly, holding back any sort of remarks or comments that could cause him or his team trouble. All that I am aware of is that we have been called before the shinobi clans, Merchants' Council and the Council of Elders, though I have to wonder neither Hokage is present. Naruto said, his eyes narrowing at the man. Both the Godame and Rokudaime have too much of a biased opinion of this team, particularly its leader, Danzo growled out. As such, it falls to the council to judge you for your shortcomings. Nothing is final unless the Hokage orders it so, Koharu reminded him, but we would like to verify a few things about Team 11. Such as? Naruto smirked at the elder. First off, Naruto, it is rumored that you have been able to recreate the Shikuten Kekkai Genkai, Hamura said, looking at the boy expectantly. Is that true? In answer, Naruto held out his arms, and let his white-hot flames erupt from them in a brief display. It is. I use this form in my taijutsu. I can also use it to cover my whole body in a kind of armor. It's no genjutsu, Ankai Kurama said, looking at the blaze thoughtfully, quite impressive. Indeed, said Hayashi Hyuga with his Byakugan activated. Naruto grinned and let the flames die out. Was there something more? Yes, Danzo sneered, looking directly at Tayuya. This girl is to answer for her crimes against Konoha. That was a mistake. The moment Danzo fingered the girl, an immense amount of killing intent filled the room as Naruto and Ranmaru stepped in front of her. But the pressure wasn't coming from the younger shinobi. It was all coming from the blonde jonin standing before them. Touch her, and I'll rip you to pieces. It was no idle threat. Even without the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto's own chakra was potent enough to make some of the civilians shudder. Hamura stood. Calm yourself, Naruto-kun, as we said, nothing will be set until the Hokage review it. The charges? Koharu asked of her old colleague. Aiding and abetting Orochimaru in the murder of Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo said, watching as a look of horror spread across Tayuya's face as Naruto turned to her, his blue eyes wide in shock. She cannot deny that she was not at the scene, as Umbu reports stated that a young kunoichi with her features was at the scene holding up a barrier that prevented the aid of the Sandaime. Tayuya looked away and down from the gaze of the council, and that of Naruto. Naruto, for his part, looked as if he were debating whether or not to call out Danzo on his proclamation, but he figured, being a former member of the Sound Four, it was most likely true. Are you really going to get angry at her because of something she was most likely forced to do? The Kyuubi asked, grumbling as if he'd been woken up from a nap. If so, then you never should have fallen for her. You knew that there was a possibility since she helped that Uchiha brat escape. I know, Naruto thought back angrily, it's just a lot to take in. No it's not. The Kyuubi growled, Orochimaru did the killing, not her. That mummified prick is just trying to break up your squad. I've heard about him from your father, and even he felt that this man was dangerous if left to his own designs. I suggest you stick to the plan, and call his bluff. Elder he may be, but you are stronger than he is. Naruto nodded silently and turned back to the council. As any shinobi would do, she was following the orders of her superior, that being Orochimaru, who is now dead thanks to my sensei. Naruto stated, crossing his arms, and if either he, or Tsunade-san thought that she was a danger to me, or this village, do you really think she'd have lived beyond where she was found? Naruto. Tayuya was looking at him in amazement. How could he accept what she'd done so easily? Hayashi, his two daughters beside him, Hinata looking on with worry, decided to take a hand. Shimura-san, I believe Naruto-kun is right in this venture, as Tsunade-sama has often spoken of her worry over this girl potentially betraying Naruto-kun several times until she went to meet with the team herself. She has? Koharu asked, why did she not share the details? It was a particular matter that remained sensitive even now. Hayashi said, looking down at Ranmaru, it concerns my clan, and our jujitsu. But, however, I would like to call for a vote concerning this young woman. She has been made a kunoichi of this village, and is rumored to be highly skilled. If the bingo books are right, she's a genjutsu mistress, as well as a yoton and futon user, both rare abilities in their own rights. So, in light of the evil in her life, I would like the Shinobi Council to vote if she should be punished for Hiruzen-sama's death. Remember, however, that good will always outweigh the evil. Very well, Danzo said, as the sole member of my clan, I vote for her punishment by death. Over my dead body. Naruto growled, his chakra flaring once again, if you so much as touch her, I'll. Are you threatening me, boy? Danzo asked, unimpressed. You're 100 years too young to be thinking of such things. I vote to let her be, Shikaku said, looking at his son. Shikamaru told me of his recent mission, and the girl adamantly fought against Orochimaru with a vengeance worthy of an Uchiha out for blood. I agree with Nara-san, Choza said, anyone that he'll vouch for is worth it in my books. Inoichi, the last of the Ino Shikacho, sighed, I will also agree with them, but only if the girl will let me have a look through her memories. He said, gaining a look of approval from many of the civilians, trust is good, but blind faith can cause no end of trouble. What do you say, young lady? Tayuya looked up at the man sitting beside Ino. You won't like what you see. Inoichi rose, taking a few steps down to the team. I've seen a lot. I doubt what you've been through will be enough to break me. Daddy? Ino said worriedly. Inoichi looked back at his daughter. Don't worry, this won't take long. Don't hurt her, okay? Ino mumbled. Smiling, the man placed his hand on Tayuya's head. She won't feel a thing. Naruto and the rest of his team kept their eyes on the man for any signs of harm, but the transfer of information only took a second, and Inoichi was pulling his hand away from her, looking slightly pale. You poor girl, I don't know how you've stayed sane for so long. Tayuya shook her head. It helps when you have friends to talk to, she said, looking at Naruto. Inoichi nodded sadly, and turned to the council. Revoke your claim, Danzo. The girl is no danger to us, and even if you don't revoke your claim, I'll take my findings to both Tsunade-sama and Kakashi-sama. Inoichi said, returning to his seat. Danzo growled. This was not going the way he wanted. Nor could he use his special techniques. With a member of the Kurama clan in the room, a genjutsu would be detected long before he reached the intended targets. And, he was sure that the girl would see the illusion as well, being a genjutsu mistress herself. Alright then, please, tell us, Danzo snapped, why did you allow the traitor, Itachi Uchiha to make off with Sasuke? Naruto snapped his gaze up to the man. Only a few people know about the result of the mission. You aren't one of them, because it was to be kept between those that went on the mission, and the Hokage. So, let me answer your question with another question. Just how the hell do you know that? I have my sources, Danzo said. Now, answer the K-dash. The doors slammed open, revealing Tsunade and Kakashi, and a full detail of Umbu behind them. This meeting is over. Tsunade growled as she glared across the room. Umbu, take Shimura Danzo into custody, and remove the civilians from this room as they have no business in the affairs of the shinobi. Rather than put up a fight, as the Umbu surrounded him, Danzo went with them, allowing a smirk to grow across his wrinkled features. The civilian merchants went without much fight, but jeered and cursed the young blonde Jinchuriki. Tsunade took a few steps into the room, and placed her hand on Tayuya's shoulder. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'll make sure he pays for it, she told the girl, then turned her attention to the council. This was part of a plan to oust a traitor to the village. She announced, Danzo Shimura has been selling information to Akatsuki, and to Orochimaru. And it was he that led the Uchiha to their failed coup. Because of him, we have lost a once great clan to near extinction, and a most beloved Hokage. It was under my instruction that Naruto bait him into revealing himself. As he did in asking about Sasuke Uchiha. It was a discussion between himself and myself. Only one member of his team knew about it, that being Tayuya, and she willingly subjected herself to a mind probe by Inoichi. I trust that there is no question of her loyalties? None, Inoichi said, clasping his hands together. She's a brave girl. Any other shinobi I know would have gone mad from what she's been through, yet here she is, whole. Naruto let a small smile show as he placed an arm around the girl in question, causing her to lean into him for comfort. An action not missed by a certain Hyuga heiress. It was quite clear to Hinata that Naruto had been spoken for. Though she was sorry she'd missed her chance, after seeing all the horrible glares, and hearing some of the things the villagers said about the blonde, she was happy for her friend. Hayashi, however. I would like to ask a question of one of Team 11. Hayashi said, smiling, is it true that one of you possesses an advanced form of Byakugan? Ranmaru instinctively hid behind both Naruto and Tayuya, who shielded the boy. Hayashi laughed, something his daughters did not see too often, not at all. There's no need to worry, I simply wish to see it for myself, if you wouldn't mind? Ranmaru peeked out, and slowly activated his Byakugan, which glowed eerily. Hayashi smiled as his daughters took note of the power it would take to make his eyes glow so much. Normally, only an advanced jonin of their clan was capable of such things, but Ranmaru was only a child. Not even Neji was able to use his eyes that well. The next moment, however, shocked them all as Ranmaru's advanced into the Tensigan's white flower-like iris. Incredible. Hayashi breathed, there hasn't been a Tensigan user in our clan for near 1,000 years. But I'm not from your clan, Ranmaru said fearfully. Aimuran Maru Kurosuke. I know, but it is still amazing that you have such wonderful abilities, Hayashi said, shaking his head. I only regret that you most likely had to go through something horrible to get them. I saw Ain-san die, Ranmaru said, shivering. I brought her back, though, and Sakura-san, too. Hayashi looked at the boy. What's the limit on someone you can bring back? I have to be there within minutes of the death, Ranmaru sighed sadly, and if a subject's inner organs are missing, I can't replace them, so if something vital is gone, then I can't attempt to heal them. I can't heal something that isn't there. I see, Hayashi said, hanging his head. I suppose that's understandable. You're not a god after all. No, not a god, Ranmaru said, just me. Tsunade sighed. Enough of the 20 questions. Naruto, you're free to go along with the rest of your team. I'm betting you could use the rest. Naruto nodded. We'll be leaving in a few days. We'll resupply tomorrow and leave the day after. == Returning home was a quiet affair for the team. Tayuya was the quietest of all of them for once, and stuck extremely close to Naruto for some reason. As the team parted ways, Naruto and Tayuya moving toward the gates to return to his parents' home, while Sasami, Sara and Ranmaru would be staying with the Uzumaki clan. Sasami hugged the red-haired girl tightly before letting them go on their way. Again, Tayuya was quiet. Naruto looked at her and saw her looking at the ground, refusing to meet his gaze. Naruto sighed, and reached out to take her hand in his. Tayuya started a little, but allowed the contact, taking comfort in the warmth of his hand. When they reached the house, Tayuya immediately made for the shower. Naruto sighed to himself and went to make their dinner. By the time she was out, Naruto had already eaten 4 cups of ramen, and was sitting on the couch, dozing. He woke right up when she sat beside him, wearing an oversized shirt, leaving the rest of herself bare. It was something he'd gotten used to. It was how she liked to sleep when they were together. But there was something different this time as she curled up next to him. She slung his left arm over her shoulders and all but buried her face in his chest. Naruto sighed and held her close. You know I don't blame you, right? He asked, beginning to run his hand through her hair. It's like I said, you were following orders, nothing more. Tayuya shook her head. I wanted to tell you myself, Kabuto mentioned it back at the base. I thought that if you knew. I already told you, Naruto said, smiling slightly. I don't care. You're part of my team now. That's all I need to know. Tayuya gained a small smirk. You're way too forgiving, you know that? Naruto chuckled. Well, my best friend did shove 2 lightning attacks through my chest, so yeah, I know. He continued stroking her hair, just how she liked it, and the two of them stayed like that for a long time, Naruto noticing that the light outside the windows was fading. Nah, Tayuya-chan, you awake? Yeah, Tayuya mumbled sleepily, but not for long. She said, cuddling up against him more. You're the world's best pillow, you know that? Well, I think I might be able to wake you up a bit more, Naruto smiled, a blush finding its way to his face as Tayuya looked up at him. After we get back to the village, do you think, well, maybe we could, get married? That did wake her up. Wha? You mean it? Tayuya asked, a fierce blush lighting up her face. Don't fucking kid around with something like this, shithead. I don't think I could take it if this was one of your pranks. Naruto rolled his eyes. I wouldn't joke about this, he grumbled. Geez, and here I was getting nervous you'd say no when I should have been worried you'd think I was joking. Tayuya groaned and hid her face again. Damn it, you picked the worst fucking time to drop something like that on a girl. I'll take that as a no, then, Naruto sighed. No. Tayuya blurted out, and blushed harder. I mean, it's 2 years away. What if we don't feel the same when we get back? Hell, you might take a shine to Sasami halfway there. Not likely, Naruto said, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. I thought she was a boy the first time we met, and I really can't see myself falling for someone else. You don't know that. Tayuya pouted cutely for a moment, and Naruto took advantage of that, leaning down to kiss her softly on the lips. Tayuya moaned softly as she returned the kiss, letting her hands tangle in his hair, and bringing him closer. His hand roamed over her body, finding a few spots that made her yelp against his lips before she had to pull back and breathe. Naruto grinned down at the dazed look on her face. Still think I'm joking? A moment later he was laughing as Tayuya pulled him back down for round 2. 2 days later. Can't you stay a little longer? Asked one of the Uzumaki children. We want to play some more. Naruto chuckled and ruffled the little girl's hair. Sorry, Anoka-chan, but we've already stayed too long. He said, raising back up and looking at his team. It's time we get going. Naruto's outfit had changed while he was in the village. He still wore a hayari, but it was black with the Uzumaki symbol on his back, and orange flames at the bottom, and he now wore black shinobi pants as well as boots made for snow. Each member of his team now sported a white cloak for winter, as winter was setting in, and Tetsu no Kuni was going to be 10 times as cold. You will be greatly missed, Akira said, standing alongside his own daughter, whose name was Ushio, as well as Saiga Uchiha, grinning ear to ear at the team. We will make sure that your teachings are passed on within the clan to those that enter academy and become shinobi. He said, smiling. Also, we will put the void seal to work as soon as Hayashidano wishes to remove the seals from his clansmen. Be sure to be careful about that, Naruto said. I hear that the elders of that clan can be pretty nasty. Tsunade stepped forward and flicked him on the head, not enough to send him rolling like the last time, but just enough to get her point across. Just be sure to steer clear of IWA. Those rock jocks can hold a grudge like no other, and the last thing we need is to hear about you getting in a fight with them. Naruto rubbed his head where he'd been flicked. Don't worry, we'll head straight of Tetsu. No stops. He looked at Akira, and don't forget, Enko-chan has one of Orochimaru's marks on her. You should ask her when she wants it gone. Probably as soon as possible. Kakashi said for the woman in question, she hates that thing as much as I do. He sighed, she thinks it makes her ugly, when she's probably the most beautiful woman in Hai no Kuni. Naruto along with Sakura and Tsunade laughed. Whoa, Kaka-sensei, didn't know you were such ladies' man. Naruto grinned. Kakashi shrugged, what can I say? Some guys got it, and others don't. Cocky aren't we? Tsunade grinned, maybe I should tell Enko-chan about whatever it is you've got? Please don't, Kakashi sweated. Naruto laughed and waved goodbye to his friends and family as he and his team set out, and Tsunade noticed, with a slight smile, that Tayuya had a small silver ring on her left ring finger. Well, I'll be damned. X equals. It seems you've gotten yourself into a bit of a mess, Danzo, asked the masked figure outside his cell. Tell me, what could you give me if I felt like getting you out of here? Danzo smiled thinly, as it so happens, the very thing you've been looking for, and it comes in a 2-piece set. Go on, Toby said. There just so happens to be another Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Danzo smiled, and then disappeared from his cell. Interesting. Toby smiled behind his mask before leaving as well. Very interesting. Chapter 30. A week passed by as Naruto and Team 11 made their way to Tetsu no Kuni, and winter had settled itself in Hai no Kuni. The 5 young shinobi were having a quiet trip thus far, but unbeknownst to them, they found themselves under the glaring eyes of 2 other shinobi. Is that them? A masked IWA shinobi asked his companion. The blonde one, it has to be. It is, said the other shinobi, he's wearing the Konoha Hitaiate on his arm. He passed the binoculars to him, see there on his right shoulder? That's definitely them. The first shinobi smiled under his mask, they're heading for Tetsu, just like the sources told us, perfect. We'll have to make sure we don't lose them in mountain country. That place has more than enough land for them to slip right by us. The second said, taking back the binoculars, but that should be easy for us. There's a bridge between mountain and iron that leads them right past our own territory, all we need to do is set up a little surprise for them. His companion chuckled, it's lucky for us that we've got some of our best guys with us. He said, raising his hand and turning the tips of his fingers into carbonized steel, between my steel, your blood, and old Muri's diamonds, those brats don't stand a chance. Hey, don't get ahead of yourself, the second said, if the rumors and the bingo books are true, then these brats are stronger than they look. And the one we're after is a Jinchuriki, don't forget. The first shrugged, doesn't matter, unless one of them knows Enten, then they won't be able to touch me or Muri. Seiji might have trouble, but I'm betting that he'll come out on top. Fine-looking kunoichi they've got with them, ain't they? The second rolled his eyes, don't start. I signed up for revenge, not rape. Spoil sport. X equals. Meanwhile, as Naruto and his team trudged on, Naruto noticed that they were not alone. He fell back alongside Tayuya, brushing her hand with his, you see them, too? Tayuya nodded, yeah, but there's just 2 of them, probably scouts. Naruto sighed, nodding, make out any headbands? Don't have to, Tayuya shook her head, those were Iwanin. The blonde's eyes opened wide, damn, this is bad. Sora, Sasami, and Ranmaru came up to them, what's up, Nissan? Sora asked. Naruto made a slight gesture with his head, we're being followed, and they ain't friendly. Akatsuki? Sasami asked, having been brought up to speed with the Akatsuki situation. IWA, Tayuya put in, looking at her boyfriend, because of who he is, they'll most likely want just Naruto, but they won't spare the rest of us either. Sora nodded his understanding, man, who knew having a famous old man would be such a pain in the ass. He half-joked before looking at Naruto, so, what's the plan? Naruto shrugged, as long as they leave us alone, we keep moving, but Ranmaru, I want you keeping an eye out for any unwanted surprises, got it? Hi, Oni-san, Ranmaru smiled. Tayuya bumped her shoulder against him. Once we get close to Tetsu, we can make a run for it. IWA wouldn't dare cross the samurai. Sasami moved up to her side. We don't know if these shinobi are working for the Tsuchikage or not. Don't forget, Oanoki's not known for his taking actions. She said, they don't call him the fence-sitter for nothing, you know? She's right, Naruto sighed. I bet the guy doesn't even know about this, or else he wouldn't risk a conflict with either Konoha or the samurai. He reasoned. Tayuya nodded, feeling a pit forming deep in her stomach. She reached out with her left hand and grasped hold of Naruto's right, the cool metal of her ring meeting his skin. Naruto looked at her and smiled. Hey, don't worry about it. He told her with his usual confidence, you'll see, we'll make it to Tetsu, and meet up with Pervy Sage, and everything will go just like he planned. He gripped her hand lightly, and then we can all come back home. And we can. Tayuya blushed, looking down at their hands, you know. Naruto blushed as well, but kept smiling. Yeah, that's a promise, Tebeo. Sara gagged loudly. If you guys are gonna start staring into each other's eyes like some cheesy romance movie, then I'm gonna hurl. Sasami huffed and elbowed him in the ribs, gaining a pained yelp from him. Honestly, Sora-kun. This is why you don't have a girlfriend. No, it's because I spent the first 13 years of my life in a temple, Sara groaned, glaring at the orangette. Or are you opting out for the job, huh? In your dreams. Sasami snapped. Hey, Sasami Onizen? Ranmaru said, catching the girl's attention. What's a girlfriend? The four older shinobi stopped in their tracks, all eyes going to the youngest member of the team. What? Naruto laughed. Ranchan, a girlfriend is a special girl you really like hanging around with. He said, jerking his thumb at the red head at his side, like me and Tayuya-chan. Ranmaru grimaced, but you guys always make those kissy faces. Ah, we're burning daylight, Tayuya said hurriedly, let's get moving. But Oni-san, Ranmaru whined. Sara and Sasami laughed as Naruto swung the boy up onto his shoulders and followed after his girlfriend. == Have you found anything at all that might have aided his escape? Tsunade growled angrily as she stared down the Umbu in front to her. He couldn't have just vanished into thin air. The Umbu shook his head. I'm sorry, Godame-sama, but there's nothing that could have aided him. I've had my men search through every part of the jail cells and interrogate the guards on duty, but there was nothing at all. Kakashi leaned back in his seat, deep in thought. That sounds like something my Manjikyu Sharingan is capable of. He mused quietly, not bringing the thoughts to the forefront of the meeting. But that's impossible. Kakashi, Tsunade said to the masked Kage, any thoughts? Kakashi shrugged, deciding to prove his point. It does sound as if he was just drawn out of his cell. My Kamui abilities have that sort of power, but for someone else to unlock that ability would mean that there's another Sharingan user out there. Sasuke and Itachi? Tsunade guessed, hoping she was wrong, and felt relieved when Kakashi shook his head. No, if it was those two, there would definitely be a body, Kakashi said, sighing. I know for a fact that Itachi spilled the beans about the massacre, and if I know either of them, Sasuke, especially, there wouldn't be enough left of Danzo to identify him, just a bloody pile. Tsunade nodded in agreement. Koharu and Hamura aside, it was Danzo that would hold the Uchiha brothers' hatred. Saiga was the exception to that, being as he never knew his family. All he knew were the two brothers he never knew he had until recently. Alright, so there's a possible Sharingan user in the mix. What about Akatsuki? No known members display any sort of implanted Jujutsu abilities thus far, and Itachi was the only known member with Sharingan. The Umbu stated, I stress the phrase known as we only know of a few Akatsuki and their jutsu, and or Kekkai Genkai. We know of Kisame Hashigake, Deidara, and Akasuna no Sasori. That's 3 of the 9, now 8, since Itachi has left them, but that doesn't mean they won't try bolstering their ranks. Kakashi and Tsunade had known something like that would likely happen. With Itachi, a bearer of the Manjikyu Sharingan, gone from their ranks, the Akatsuki would try to get a replacement for him that would fill his space equally if not overshadowing him completely in strength, which would lead some to believe that more than one new member would be showing up. This is troubling, Kakashi sighed, but, at least we know that Itachi won't be with them anymore. His Manjikyu Sharingan is extremely powerful, and it nearly did me in at one point. Yes, Tsunade nodded, but what about the one that took Danzo out of his cell? == 8 figures stared down at the two before them, one glaring down with purple, rippled eyes. In what train of thought did you think that bringing this man to us was a good idea, Toby? Toby scratched the back of his head bashfully. Toby thought he would be useful, Leader Sama. he said, gesturing to Danzo. He told Toby lots of things that would be helpful. Such as? The leader growled, knowing the man behind the fool. Speak carefully, or else there may be 2 unmarked graves to dig. He told Toby that there's another Kyuubi no Jinchuriki, Toby said quickly, and he's traveling with the other one, Uzumaki Naruto. Impossible, Sasori growled. I had heard that the Kyuubi had been split in half, the yang half being sealed into the Uzumaki boy. The ine half had been sealed into the yondaime, and consumed by the Shinigami. That is true, Danzo said for himself, speaking for the first time since entering the cavern, but with such potent chakra, some of its original, fully formed yin/yang chakra was left behind after the battle. Someone tried to create a pseudo-jinchuriki from that chakra, and the Uzumaki boy managed to reseal it. He drew that yang chakra into himself, and sealed the yin chakra off into the vessel it was currently in, creating a new yin Kyuubi. A woman with blue hair was amazed. The boy did that on his own? Looking at their leader, perhaps the rumors we've heard about him are more than just rumors? So it would seem, the man said, narrowing his eyes, but this is not enough information to allow you to live, Shimura. What else do you have to offer Akatsuki? Forces, Danzo said at once. I have well over 100 men at my disposal. While I know that none of them would last long against any here, they can be useful as spies, or aid in the capture of the Bijou when the time comes. The leader of the Akatsuki was quiet for a long time, giving the aged shinobi some worry, but the man growled out, give him a robe and Itachi's old ring. He said, if you do not prove to be of more use to us, then you will die. We already have 2 more members coming in, and I hope you prove to be more powerful than they, or else it will be my pleasure to see Kisame's sharks have their fill of a Konoha elder. Equals back with Team 11 equals. What the newest member of the Akatsuki didn't know, however, was that the 2 Kyuubi no Jinchuriki were traveling toward Tetsu no Kuni at a now breakneck pace. How many are there? Naruto called over his shoulder. Behind him, Ranmaru did a quick once-over behind his shoulders. I'm counting 20 at least behind us, the boy said, and another 17 ahead. Naruto cursed. It's a trap, he growled. All right, we all know it's another 10 miles to the bridge. As soon as the 17 ahead show themselves, split up and head for the bridge as fast as you can. I'm their target, so their main focus is gonna be on me. Like hell. Sara snapped from his right, we're not gonna let you be bait, Naruto. Naruto glared back at him, you'll do as you're told. I'm the Jonin. Screw the ranking system. Tayuya snapped angrily, you were the one that preached to never leave a comrade behind. I know what I said, Naruto growled at her, but listen to me now. I'm just going to lead them away, not fight them, and it'll give you guys a chance to cross the border and get to safety. We're not leaving you behind, Naruto-san, Sasami said from his right beside Sora, we can't. You know that they'll have their best men after you, so what makes you even think we'll get away if the rest of them come after us? Sara nodded as they ran, she's right, they might try to take us as bait to lure you out. Naruto growled, having considered this, but the fact remained that IWA, if they attacked, would do everything in their power to get to him, even if it meant taking a hostage. Unfortunately, IWA was not known for its mercy toward female shinobi. All right, Naruto said, we stick together, but take out the weaker ones first, leave the ones you can't handle to me. He growled at them, got it? Hi, was the resounding answer. To the IWA shinobi, it was obvious that they had been found out as the 5-bodied squad picked up the pace. Now was the time to make their move. As Naruto and his team moved, a lone shinobi appeared in their path, wearing a maniacal grin across his face. Koton, Cabe! The man shouted, and slammed his hands to the ground, raising a gigantic black wall of steel. Shit! Tayuya snapped, it's them. Move it! Naruto roared, taking the chance of shooting straight up the wall of steel, his team right behind him. Unfortunately, this made them the perfect target. Kunai and earth-based ninjutsu hurtled at them, but the 5 young shinobi managed to avoid or deflect them with minor effort, and crested the wall, only to be met by the same shinobi, and 2 others. Your opponents will be us, the steel user said, Namake's brat. His hands morphed into deadly axes, and swiped at them, scattering them as Naruto leapt over him and the wall, hurtling toward the ground. Meet at the bridge. Naruto roared as he hit the ground, jarring his legs badly, and shot away, no matter what, meet at the bridge. Take them. The steel user roared, kill the males, but the kunoichi are ours. Naruto and his team scattered into the trees, the blonde on his own as the 3 Jonin shinobi gave chase, while Tayuya headed into the hills with Ranmaru on her heels, and Sora and Sasami moved off into the forest. The IWA forces split up and went after each in turn, the 3 ranking officers splitting off in all 3, the steel user going after the blonde Uzumaki. Equals X equals. Naruto was cursing whatever gods there were alive about his luck as the 15 shinobi came at him. He could handle them easily, but his worry for the rest of his team was what was at the forefront of his mind. Ha ha ha, run, 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 little rat. Shouted one of the shinobi in pursuit. I bet those bingo book entries were fake. You can't even face us. He ducked as an earth dragon roared over his head, crashing into the ground, and forcing him into the trees. Runt, you're going to have to take care of these idiots, the QB snarled, if you don't then your mate and other teammates are done for. I know that. Naruto snapped, bringing his hands up to perform his jutsu. He skidded to a halt, and stood as the IWA shinobi surrounded him, all of them grinning madly. Still, Naruto growled out, I'm going to give you all one chance, leave now, and no one dies. A round of loud, mocking laughter cascaded across the forest, as if we'd give up a chance to rid the world of your kind. One man shouted, twirling a kunai in his hand, I lost most of my family to your old man, brat, so the least I can do is make sure his line dies with you. I am not a Namikaze, and never will be, Naruto growled, glaring at the man as his blue/white flames spread across his body. I am Uzumaki Naruto, head of the returned Uzumaki clan of Konoha. He clapped his hands together, Shikuten, Kitsunabe. He roared, pirouetting on his left foot, sending out a ring of blue/white flames all around him. The shinobi leapt away into the trees for safety, a few of them not being fast enough as the flames caught them, spreading over their bodies as if they were drenched in oil. The screams of the victims filled his ears, and the forest was soon in flames as his attack took to the trees, biting into the pines, and igniting them. Naruto's cold glare found the remaining shinobi in the trees as he came to a stop from his spin, unsealing his kiba. One last chance. He growled, lightning beginning to crackle along the blades. No one moved, only readying themselves for the fight to come. All right, no more mercy. The shinobi came at him as one with a roar of challenge as Naruto's blades came alive, arcs of electricity flying through the air. On a branch slightly further from the fight, one shinobi stood alone with a grin plastered across his face, his body covering itself with carbonized steel. Uzumaki Naruto, he grinned, your life is mine. Equals with Tayuya and Ranmaru equals. Explosions rocked the mountainside as Tayuya unleashed another combo from her Kasumi Enbyu and Oni Doro Jutsu, Ranmaru keeping her in check with a few small fire jutsu himself. Not many had followed them, but there were enough to have Tayuya worried. One man in particular was making her nervous. He hung back from the rest of them and was an older, wizened shinobi, his arms crossed against his chest. He carried no weapons, or any sort of scrolls, which raised her suspicions further. Tayuya sent a look toward Ranmaru, get moving, and head for the bridge like Naruto told us. Ranmaru wanted to argue, but the grin coming across Tayuya's face made him falter for a moment. If she was so confident, then there was nothing to worry about. She just wanted him out of the way for his own safety. Ashidaru, Wani-san, Ranmaru mumbled before turning and leaping down into the forest below the mountains. Tayuya smiled for a moment, and turned to her former kinsman. Well, assholes, you just caught the wild cat, she growled, her hands flashing through her seals. You ready for the claws? She slammed her hands into the frozen ground. Yotan, Funka. The ground beneath her feet began to rumble and glow with heat. Suddenly, the ground gave way and erupted in great plumes of lava. The mountainside was awash with the molten rock as it cascaded down, leaving the IWA shinobi only one way out. Down. They moved down the hills, and tried to pass the elder shinobi, but he wouldn't allow it. Cowards. He muttered, and tapped his foot against the ground, causing clear, sharp stalagmites to erupt from the ground, halting their escape. We have a job to finish. The screams of the men as the lava washed over them were cut short. Tayuya grinned as it looked as if her work was done, only for the lava to wash down the mountainside, revealing the lone shinobi still standing where he'd been a moment before. Only his skin was covered in. A Naten user, Tayuya spat, just my luck. Indeed, the man said, I am Muri, last of my clan after the war. Thanks to Konoha's yellow flash, all of my sons were killed, and no one is left to carry on my legacy. And no one shall be left to carry on his legacy once Akira finishes that boy. Tayuya growled as she drew her flute, you won't beat him so easily if you came for me instead of him. My body is made of the strongest diamonds imaginable, Muri sneered as Tayuya raised her flute, no mere genjutsu will harm me. Tayuya smirked, genjutsu may not hurt you, but even diamonds can shatter with the right sound, she said, and even if it doesn't, you will be wishing for death once my song ends. Sora and Sasami equals. Damn it. Sora cursed as he sped through the trees, there's barely anyone following us. It was true. Once the pair had hit the trees, Naruto and Tayuya had been the bigger targets. Only a few shinobi had gone after them. Sasami looked behind her, spotting at least 10 shinobi following them. At least we led a few of them away, right? She said. How far are we from the bridge? 5 miles, Sara ground out. We'll probably get there before the others will. Corinne says she can sense Naruto and Tayuya fighting, but Ranmaru's heading for the bridge ahead of them. Is anyone following him? Sasami asked worriedly. Sara shook his head. No, Tayuya took them all out. She's still fighting against one opponent, though, and he feels powerful. It's gotta be one of those Kekkei Genkai users she warned us about, the Orangette said. If it were normal shinobi, then she'd have gotten out of there in a few minutes, so it's safe to say that that guy's no normal shinobi. Yeah, I hear ya. Sara glanced back over his shoulder. Think one of those guys is following us? Sasami looked back as well, one way to find out. She reached into her pouch and pulled out a pair of gloves, time to show them what the Fuma clan's capable of. Sara nodded, and dropped from the trees with her as the 10 shinobi surrounded them. As Sasami reached up and placed her glove against her teeth, she pulled back, revealing a length of razor wire. Get down. Sara wisely ducked down as the wire flew from her wrists. Ninpu, Kumo no Su. The Fuma Kunoichi whipped her body around in a whirlwind as the lengths of wire spun from her gloves like webs. Nearly invisible to an untrained eye, the wire spread around the area, latching onto branches and tree trunks. The IWA shinobi regarded the wire in nervousness, none of them having been caught by the deadly web. Yet. Goodbye, Sasami smiled, and twitched her fingers slightly. The forest erupted into a loud crash as the trees came tumbling down in pieces, the wire coming away from the bark and whipping right down on the shinobi. Sara didn't have to see anything that happened to know that they were done for as the screams of the shinobi of IWA echoed through his ears. They were being cut to ribbons. A moment later, it was over as Sora looked up to see Sasami retracting her wire. She was looking a little pale at the scene before her as the ground was littered with the dead, the snow stained red. Sara picked himself up off the ground, and made his way to her. Come on, we should get going. Sasami nodded and turned away. I'm afraid you won't be going anywhere, a cold voice said from behind them. Sasami turned as something whipped around her neck, and lifted her off the ground. Sara yelled as he watched his friend get thrown into the trees, knocking her unconscious. He glared at the man responsible, and blanched as he noticed the red tendrils whipping around him. The red stains in the snow were disappearing as the whips lengthened and swirled around him. I am Seiji of the Blood, he said emotionlessly, and I have been charged with your death.